Up. Yo hoy everyone, forgot the mute button. There. Way to start the show, if I don't say so myself. And with that, happy Father's Day everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. Going to be an excellent show for KTLK The Fringe FM. This is Shift Happens. I am your co-host Gigi, and along with me, of course, is my partner in troublemaking, the Empress of the known universe herself, Empress Cortana. How's it going?
What's up? And happy Father's Day to all the dads who have stepped up to the plate and are filling a role for even the children that are not theirs. Too, gotta appreciate that.
Absolutely, and I've had it's funny. Me and my sister have had several different families growing up and different stepdads, and so we both got him a card today, and it was like, out of all the dads we've ever had, you're number one. And
yeah, right. I'm kind of like that with my stepdad, because the dog's barking right now. There's a firm divide between the men that I call who got that role. There's my dad and there's my stepdad, and there's but my sister's dad was never my dad because he was kind of an ass. And so, but my stepdad, Adrian, you're out there on the ship. He's Navy chief, and he is out there fighting the good fight. And he is my stepdad, and I'm really proud of him.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we actually had a pretty good Father's Day, hanging out by the lake, paddle boarding, good old fashioned time in my book. But whoopsie daisy. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff we want to get into tonight with Richard Allen Miller, and as you know, you can never get enough. So we definitely don't want to take too much time up here. And almost ruined that. Okay, so with that said, just quick reminder: we got our new sponsor is the Firehouse Saloon in Houston, Texas. If for some wild reason you do find yourself here, definitely check out the Firehouse Saloon. It's one of the most badass music venues in town. They do sound right. There's so many. Music is it's just not treated like a profession here. It's more of a hobby here. And a lot of places, the guys that run the sound, with all due respect, they just don't know what they're doing. And it's almost embarrassingly bad. But this place does it right. I know the guy. He's awesome as hell. And they're definitely helping us out with some stuff. So, the Firehouse Saloon in Houston, Texas. Get there while you can. And also, as some of you may know, we have a new associate producer, Jordan McAvoy, is out there hanging out in Spreaker chat and on Twitter. He's going to be, so if you got some questions that you want to get into the show, as always, put them in all caps. Also, hashtag ShiftHeads. That's the shift box on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, you're not using Spreaker, make sure to hashtag ShiftHeads and if we're not getting to your questions, just hit up Jordan directly and be like, hey man, what's the deal? And he'll make sure we get your questions in.
And if you're in Spreaker, type questions in all caps so we can read them, or Jordan can get to them, and so they'll be easy to spot.
Yes, please. That always helps for sure. And in that case, we actually might even be able to see him too, because we try to keep up with the chat, but you can only do so many million things at once. So, the all caps helps. What's happening? Dan, James, Jordan, Erik are in the chat already. What's happening, guys? And, we are going to, towards the end of the show, we will take some Skype calls. And kind of like last week, if you guys want to Skype in, I know Eric's he's ready to rock and roll. But anybody else, if you guys want to call in, we're going to give it out throughout the show too. But the Skype ID is Bressler162. That's B as in boy, RESLER 162. Send me a request. I've got Skype pulled up over here. So you send the request, I accept it, and then bam, you're able to call in. And really how that's going to work is I'm going to have to bring you in just because of the way Skype works. So let us know that you want to call in. Let Jordan know, and he'll make sure to let us know that you want to call in. And when the time comes, we will bring you in. And with that said,
we got to make an official Shift Happens one, so you don't get a bunch of spam. out of nowhere.
Yeah. I got some crazy Skype calls actually after the show last week. A few different people from Asia. I believe they're all from China actually. They were trying to call in, but they didn't quite speak English, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know what they were trying to, what they thought was going to happen with that. But
Chuck Fay's not on yet.
It's the thought that counts. It's the thought that counts. So
Chuck Fay hasn't been on yet. We can't be getting calls from China yet.
Yeah, and actually Chuck Fay will be on next week. He hosts a show called MJ13 out there in Hong Kong, and he's a pretty big deal out there as far like as our community goes here, like their community there. He's kind of like the Jimmy Church of Hong Kong.
He's like the Jimmy Church of Hong Kong, and he's just a really cool guy to know.
He's so awesome. He's so awesome.
Excellent insight.
He's going to be on next week, so definitely look forward to that. Now, with that, let's go ahead and jump into this. And so of course, Richard Allen Miller hasn't had, pardon the dialing noise here, but got to dial the number. But yeah, so Richard, I was calling a few minutes ago, and his internet hasn't been working all day until I called him. And after I called him, all of a sudden his internet came back on. And but just in case, we're just going to bring him in over the phone and avoid all of that tomfoolery. But with that said, without any further ado whatsoever, except for the usual ado, this episode and all episodes are brought to you by Ether Vape. Just go to ethervape.com. That's AETHERVAPE.com. Go to the shopping cart, enter the promo code SHIFT, and you will save yourself 25% off of the dankest e-juice on the market, son. Also, you'll get free shipping on all orders over $20, and you will get a free bottle of e-juice of your choice. Oh, my goodness. Let's do this. Doc Ram. Here we almost go. Him in again. Okay, here we go. And great. Perfect. All right. Can we call the number, or I can just type it in? Can't call it. Okay. Well. Here. We'll try Skype. See if did say the internet just went back up. And we got it.
All right, we got him.
There he is.
Hey, what's happening, Rick?
Yeah, hold on a second while I move my microphones and the camera down off. Okay. How is the voice thing? Testing 1, 2, 3. How's that working for you?
Sounds fantastic.
It is. All right.
I hate internet, and I hate oh man, you have no idea what has been happening here. I had a handler come in, literally from the Navy.
Interference going on there.
Yeah.
Who is Christina Infinity?
Oh, that's our co-host, Cortana.
Co-host, what is up?
Hi, who?
She's my partner in troublemaking on this show.
Your better half, the one that doesn't show her picture.
Well, yeah. She's my better radio half.
And we'll take care of it that way. How'd that work for you? Charles Herring is trying to say, I've got all these people that realize I just came up. I've got 19. Oh, man. Don't do this, please. I'm a good man. Did that thing? That was not you? Okay, Brian, we're good to go. Let's just do this.
Yeah, let's do this.
Actually, wait a minute. I am actually in the USA. I am in Charleston, South Carolina. Someone from Amsterdam, a very cutie hottie that's in OTO in Lodge back in Amsterdam, and I rarely meet intelligent women. When I say that, I don't mean they're not. No, no. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that.
Uh-oh.
Oh, are we losing him?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out how to bring him on
His
the
internet
phone.
is.
Yeah, Rick, we're gonna have to bring you in on the phone, which we tried to do a minute ago, but it didn't work. If you can hear us, we are gonna bring you right back in just a minute. So let me, you know what?
Play some music.
This might make me have to drop you too, Cortana. We'll see how this works. If it does, I'll just bring you back in. But,
all right, play some music or something.
All right, he dropped. So, yeah, we're gonna take a quick 2-minute break, and let's see, where did that thing go? All right, yeah, we'll take a quick break.
Doesn't this happen every time we try to get Ram on? Like,
it does.
There is something that just does not want him to get his word out.
And there was some weird stuff going on around where I live here today as well that kind of piqued my interest. But all right, yeah, we're gonna cut to a break, and we're gonna be back.
This is why we're talking to Ram.
Doc Ram. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Hang tight. having some pretty crazy technical difficulties here, everybody, but we are working on it. We will be right back in just a couple of minutes. Wow, and that's just today.
That's just today. Yesterday was another 70 since we moved my site. Yeah, somebody is out there actively trying to mess with me. As it turns out, I'm no longer using admin. I use admin as just another person to go in and order books. That's one of the things Navy set me up on. Oh, now I'm getting, Karen is trying to, I can't, I'm not going to respond to her. Someone in the Netherlands is trying to engage me because now I'm online. Now, guess what? Watch this. I am going to go back to you. It says I'm online, so I'll bet you I can get through.
All right, let's. Oh, there you are. Okay, we're bringing you in.
Okay, we're gonna.
All right.
Okay, so now I'm gonna hang up the telephone.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, and I'm testing 1, 2, 3. How is that working for you?
Works good. We lost Cortana, but now she just magically reappeared without me touching a button. Here you are.
Yay!
It's a band. Go ahead. Either talk or don't talk. Don't stutter. Okay, Cortina, go.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. You know, man, sorry for that.
No,
for that
that's not
delay,
working
guys.
for me. It's not working for me. You guys are both breaking up on my end.
Oh no.
So it's bandwidth. That's what it's.
Yep.
To do this, like I'm doing.
Oh man.
We might even have to put this off until maybe we could do a pre-record in case any other technical issues come up.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. I have never
This
seen
is pretty crazy. Out of
anything
all the
like this.
craziest things that are to happen when we have interviewed him, it's just getting worse.
Yeah, this is pretty unbelievable. I'm gonna give
Lots
one
of
last
interference.
attempt to bring him in. So I'm gonna hang up on him now. Which, yeah, you know, Skype automatically hangs up on Cortana too. Bring her in, and man, I'm gonna give this. All right, we got you back, Cortana. I'm gonna give this one more try. Try calling him. I mean, even his house phone refuses to connect to the show. Which we've had about 5 different problems here that I've never had before. And, well, let's see. Here he comes calling back in. All right.
Again,
Hey.
did you
All
answer?
right.
All right, somehow you're both back.
I am.
Okay.
Don't wait a minute. Let me talk for just a second to get a voice check to see if I'm breaking up. Yes or no? Now you talk.
Crystal
Over.
clear. Crystal clear.
Okay, so now we've
Crystal
got.
clear.
I didn't get that because you came in too quickly. You're going to have to pretend we're in military. Over.
Over.
Crystal clear, over.
Thank you. So basically, there's something else going on here, and I don't think it's the sun. Over.
Over. Roger.
Oh, you guys are not military experienced. Okay, well, I'll try to teach you how to do it so that by the end of this show, you're clear on how to do protocol. Over.
Roger. Over. Roger. We'll try to learn.
Really worried about you both kids. How old are you?
Yeah, we're like 29.
That's just what I didn't want to hear. That's Saturn return. It's
We're
going to go downhill
little
from there. Over.
We're kindergartners.
Yeah, you'll get it. Over. Breaker 17. Come on. Get a grip, girl. This is a nutty universe, and today has been absolutely no exception. The road rage I'm seeing of people pointing guns at each other. I mean, you know, someone will cut someone off, and the other one will come up quick on his ass, and then the other one will show him the pistol. That makes the paper. Let's say there was a shootout next to our newspaper. That's yesterday.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. Welcome to Baracha, honey. That was the Great Leslie. And, the Great Race, the movie The Great Race, where they ended up in a little town called Baracha.
Wow. And, you know, this is all very interesting because the very first thing that we were going to ask you about was, in fact, how these last 3 or 4 weeks, our whole community, I mean, not just I mean, everybody. Jimmy Church's show, Coast to Coast, MUFON. There's just been what we've described as an infiltration of our community over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And Jimmy Church, actually, he did a big show on that last Wednesday. He had 10 different people on the show, everybody from the director of MUFON to Race Hobbs, Micah Hanks, Steve Murillo, and the whole point of the show was to talk about what is going on here and what, like, all of this intrusion and everything from technical difficulties to accounts being hacked to networks being hacked, shows being spoiled. I mean, just we've been like almost under attack. And that was what I was going to ask you is this last month, have you, well, obviously today we have for sure, but before today, have you experienced any unusual interference of any kind and any strange happenings? Well, that answers the question right there.
What do you think, man? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? This is crazy. And it's so frustrating to write an email and then it won't send. And then it'll kind of send, then it won't send, then it will send, then it won't send. Why are they doing that? Well, irritation coefficient. That's a good word.
Yeah, and let me tell you guys, I mean, while we were on that break, I mean, me and Rick were on the phone going through all of his settings and making sure everything was right, and everything was right. Everything was right. Everything was set. It's just, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah. And you hear all that chirping? That's people that are trying to engage me.
Wow. Yeah, of course, right now, too.
Yeah, right now. And I only use email. I use Skype only for radio. I don't chat. I don't text. I don't do any of those kinds of things. And now, when I am not using it, I unplug my camera and I plug audio.
Yeah. Man.
That's one protocol that I have to do. I use Tor browser now, so they can't see what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And, changes my IP addresses, gives you a dozen places. And just today, I've hacked more than 70 times. As of this moment, I've still got a couple of hours before midnight. Now, I have got over 70 just today. Yesterday was the same. This is since I have moved. Now, that means, how did my Navy guy put it? Well, it's somebody that's doing it on the weekend, so he's got more time to have some.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said earlier, I mean, there's been some strange, unusual activity around where I am at right now today. My
website got hacked at the same time Amazon started bootlegging my books. Now, was Amazon bootlegging? Well, someone from Create Space using Amazon Prime. And but how do? You go to Create Space. Well, we're just printers. We don't vet anything. And Amazon should know better. And when you go ahead and try to talk to a human being. And that's when you're being like with a lawyer. Okay, I hired a lawyer. I've got him cold. I've got 2 pieces of evidence. They printed the day of the order. And those books are my books. I didn't print them. And how's that? I didn't give them permission. So what happens next is stop not my account. So that nobody. So then all the usual suspects back. Amazon Prime going full tilt, except me again. That's not me. That's probably somebody inside Amazon. Hire, mess people up. I'm just one of the people who got this. When that happened, website got hacked. I went down to 0. I'm 73 years old. I had to go back because my book sales were on 0. Now, European, we have moved my site to a secure site now. Theoretically, that can stop it. We put widgets in so they can't sneak out. Ghost account. That was happening. So I have lost, just this year, probably $20,000.
Man, you know what? Man, you're starting to cut out pretty bad, and our audience can't hear you.
Well, you're breaking up now. There'll be page 2. Okay, cause irritation to me.
Well, now you sound clear.
Well, but when you started talking, That's how it's.
See, that's what we were hearing too. Yeah.
Yeah. How does that work? And how does that work? It is. It isn't. It is. It isn't. How does that work?
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Yeah, you do. That means there's someone down the street. And so what the other thing they did for me is they gave me an oscilloscope. Signal generator. I send the thing down the line, see how long it takes. That tells you the location. You know?
Man. Yeah.
There they go. Now I'll get clearness again. They fall off the line. See, it's on and off. And so what I'm going to do is set this in a non-random thing. At some point, when they try to cut back on, catch them. Show you where they are. Know where the truck is outside my property. I have a quarter of a mile drive. See around. That's my handler took me more than half a mile away. Show me he turned my camera way down around the corner of the street, and I turned the camera with my computer.
Man, Richard, we this isn't working out, man. We can't hear you, so we're going to That's
what they did to me today. Just make a note.
Well, we tried, but man, you're breaking up pretty bad. We're gonna have to. I'm gonna cut to a commercial break, and we're gonna reset everything, and see if we can't get this working. So, sorry guys about this. I mean, like we said, we've never quite seen anything like this. This is pretty incredible. But we're gonna reset everything. We're gonna try to get him back on, and we will be back in just a few minutes. Hang tight.
Ever seen an extraterrestrial? It can be hard to believe they exist unless you've seen one for yourself. What if I told you I've seen them my whole life, but have never had a witness who shared the encounter with me? Now, what if I told you I saw 4 of them, 2 with blue skin, and there are over 20 witnesses to this CE5 event? My new book, The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, documents actual accounts from real witnesses, many of which have gone on record to attest to this otherworldly reality. Be a part of the quantum paradigm shift that is taking place right now. Go to johnpolkmedia.com to get your copy of The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, on sale right now at johnpolkmedia.com. That's JOHNPOLK media.com.
This is Ronnie LeBlanc, author of Monsterland, Encounters with UFOs, Bigfoot, and Orange Orbs, and you're listening to Shift Happens on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
we're back. And yes, a good tune indeed, Erik. One of my favorites. It's called Misfit Love by Queens of the Stone Age, which actually, they just came out with their, they released a little teaser, and they just came out with their new single a couple of days ago. Go check it out on YouTube. Very cool stuff, very cool stuff. Now, and their new album, by the way, is called Villains by Queens of the Stone Age, coming out before you know it, although not quite yet. And with that said, hey guys, hey Joshua, Casper, Tina, everybody's hanging out in the chat. Appreciate you guys being here, and appreciate you guys sticking through the thick and thin. But yeah, so it turns out there's some crazy stuff going on over there at Richard's house right now. There's been, like, I don't know if you guys could hear him earlier, but there were, just today, there's been 72 different people that have tried to log in on his website as the admin to try to wreak some havoc. And you know what? There's been some very unnerving things happening outside of my place too. And I don't know what's going on. I've never, I've been doing this stuff like a year and a half. I've never seen all of these different things fail all at once. And clearly we're just, it's just not happening. So with that said, we're gonna reschedule our interview with Richard Allen Miller. We're gonna do one this week. We're gonna pre-record it just to avoid anything and make sure we get a solid show in. And we're gonna throw that out in a few days here. So for everybody, I know we've got a lot of listeners right now that specifically are here to listen to Richard Allen Miller, and trust me, we are too, but it's not happening. It's just not happening. So, and trust me when I say we have tried everything. It's just not happening. So we're going to do that in a few days. But for the rest of the show, yeah, it's a bummer, man. But for the rest of the show, no fear, no worries. We've got some callers that want to call in, and there's enough to talk about anyway. So here's another night of open lines and open awesomeness. And here we go. Yeah, Erik, whenever you're ready to call in, just let me know, buddy, and we'll bring you in. And anybody else that wants to call in, once again, our Skype ID is Bressler162. That's capital B as in, well, capitals don't matter. It's B as in boy, RESLER 162. Add me on Skype. I've got Skype right here to my left, and let's accept the friend request, and then we can bring you in. So anybody that wants to Skype in, anybody at all, go ahead and Skype in. And man, yeah, with that said, here we are. Without
here
Richard
we
Allen
are.
All right, yeah, Jordan's got that out on the speaker chat.
Like it's all exploding at once. It's like the world's just on fire right now. Especially our UFO alternative media world. I mean, on a grand scale and on a micro scale, just interference coming from everywhere. I mean, something big is going to happen. I mean, this could only mean that.
And you know what? Me and my sister had a very fascinating conversation last night that would seem to very clearly relate to what's happening right now. And with that said, let's see, we're trying to bring Erik in here, and something is not going correctly. Let's see, try to bring him in again. I don't know. That's interesting. All right. Hey, Cortana, you still there?
I am still here.
All right, because I'm gonna have to hang up on you real quick and bring you back. Take just 1 second. Here we go. And man, this is so crazy. I've never seen anything like this. Unbelievable. All right, well, we're gonna reel these two back in. Let's see. All right, here he comes. Vanity Smurf. All right, so we got Erik. What's happening, buddy?
Oh, it's too bad. I was so excited to hear Richard Allen Miller, but that's okay.
Man, we were too. Damn, yeah, man, we were talking on the phone all day yesterday about what we were going to talk about today, and man, I swear to God, man, I've never seen anything like this. I mean, we we sat there on the
what
phone.
What did you say? People tried to log in, hack his admin. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 72 different people just today have tried to log in, have failed, but tried to log in as the admin on his website. Which, do you know how many times that usually happens a day? 0. That never happens.
I know, that's bizarre.
And it's happened 72 times today. And yeah, we're having problem. Cortana's not quite online right now either, and we're having a hard time bringing her in. But you know what? Whatever. You know, we're just we'll get her in as soon as we can. But in the meantime, man, I mean, this is just bizarre. And yeah, there's been some weird what I can only describe as people posted up around my building right now.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Not until like 10 minutes before the show, all of a sudden, you know, there's a lot of uniformed people outside right now, which is kind of fascinating.
Shit. Can you take a picture and tweet it? That would be so awesome, dude.
You know, I could. I would have to like step outside to do that, but
I mean, I don't want to get you like shot.
Yeah, you know what? At this point, they might be doing me a favor. No, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, hey,
it is pretty interesting.
If and when you move, just make sure that you keep that on the down low, so you don't have people posting up wherever you end up moving to down the road. You know.
Oh well, we've already talked all about
all right.
that.
Hey, there's Cortana.
All right, we got you.
Yeah.
Guys. But yeah, like I was saying, I was telling Eric a second ago, I mean, I've had uniformed people outside my building ever since 10 minutes before the show. And
what in the Nine Hills?
And Dr. Richard Allen Miller was telling me the same thing. And like we said, he's had over 70 people try to hack his website today, which normally that happens 0 times a day. It's only today that he's had all these different people trying to hack into his computer. And while he was trying to call in on the show, like these random people from Asia were trying to like Skype in and like trying to like get in touch. Like, I mean, we're just getting derailed, absolutely derailed. And it's funny because that was the whole first point. The whole first point we wanted to ask him was, you know, what do you think of this whole infiltration of our community? And then here you go.
The infiltration, the derailing, like it just sounds like they're like static, you know, like to use something. It just sounds like there's a lot of static that wants to interfere in any of these conversations.
Yeah, and with that said, like we said earlier, we are going to we just rescheduled for this Wednesday. We're going to record. We're just going to do it pre-recorded, because every time we have Richard on, we've had some problems, but that seem to be only unique to when he comes on, but nothing like today. This is crazy. So we're just going to pre-record it on Wednesday. I'm going to throw it out to you guys in the middle of the week, and then we're going to do. We've got Chuck coming in this Sunday. That's going to be a pretty good one, and Casper wants to join us too. But if I'm gonna have to.
You'd have to hang up on all of us and bring us all back in, probably.
Not necessarily. Let me try this. I was hoping Casper would call in. Yeah, it's been a while since I mean, we did.
This is some like immediate pulse of society stuff right here. It's a good thing Casper's calling in right now.
Oh wow, it worked.
What's
He's
up,
here.
Casper?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, man.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Hey, I came up with a new crazy theory on everything that's going on, man.
Let's
All
hear
right.
it.
Seriously. Okay. All right, let's throw this out there. Okay. Let's say that some alien coalition or whatever has given the governments of the U.S. a deadline for disclosure. And let's say hypothetically that they want the planet to be somewhat united, you know, when that occurs. And you got all this division going on. You got, you know, European rhetorics, and you've got the U.S. and everything with Trump. The world couldn't be more divided. And, you know, if we're going to have disclosure and the aliens are coming with it, they want the planet to be sort of united. So what if this whole division thing that's going on politically around the world is planned to kind of like throw the aliens? Well, we're not ready yet. We're not united. What do you think?
That's an interesting theory.
It sounds like another great book from Casper Parks.
Well, that does.
And if they're not, it's still a great book by Casper Parks.
Yeah, at least a few chapters minimum.
Oh, yeah, but it was just an interesting thought. I was just thinking the other day, going, God, everything is so united.
It is. I mean,
divided.
But, and there's different cabals, there's different factions of these people. So maybe, the big they, whoever they are, the multiple days, are at war with each other and at war with us, and then at war with the aliens. Like, it's crazy. Like, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and
before, like how everything's just exploding at once.
I mean everything. I mean, we had
and
4 or 5 different ways of bringing him on, and they all got shut down. I mean, we just couldn't work any of them.
Yeah, and don't think for a moment that there's no legislation being passed. They're passing legislation faster than they've done it in like 8 years. It is mind-boggling. They just passed the Blue Act of 2017, which is special protection for law enforcement, which I agree with. But in paragraph 5 of that, it makes it almost impossible to sue police if they screw up or do something wrong, or you run into a bad cop that beats somebody for no reason at all. I mean, that's like no civil lawsuits anymore. They're going to be protected. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Then you got employers are now going to be allowed to grab your DNA for wellness programs. And if you refuse, your employer can fine you $100 to $500, and they get to pocket that fine because you're refusing to cooperate. It's like, dude, they're passing legislation left and right, man. People just ain't paying attention, and Republican Party is not the Republican Party anymore. Ain't been for a long time. But yeah, it's just some really crazy things going on, and I think that it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. Trust me.
And you know what? It's funny. I was about to say this, but then I wasn't. But then Jordan just posted in the Spreaker chat, he got arrested for no reason. Which is funny because this guy I know, who's a very smart guy, very clever guy, and he knows just as much about everything that we do as we do. And it's funny because he got arrested for, like evading arrest or whatever, or denying, or, trying to fight against his arrest. But yet there was nothing for him to initially be arrested by. They had nothing. Like they just wanted to arrest him, and he was like, "Well, what are you arresting me for?" And then they didn't say anything, and they just said they're arresting him for evading arrest. But there was nothing in the first place to be arrested for. It makes no sense. And he actually he was in there for a little bit.
Heard that.
Yeah, no.
It's the first time I heard that. And the thing is that they can hold you for, it used to be 72 hours. Now, no charge at all.
They can get you for a good 5 days if they really want to, just on nothing.
Yeah, it's just insane. And then now they're, Jeff Sessions, the current Attorney General, and the Democrats are backing this. They're redoing the...
what a creepy little man.
They're redoing all the drug laws. And it's like, people are looking at, get this, $1 million to $10 million fine. And you can't bankrupt out of fines like that. I mean, it's like...
For what drug specifically?
Oh, my God. Schedule 1, Schedule 2. Marijuana is a Schedule 1 yet.
Dude, I'm gonna have to say I plead the Graham Hancock on this, where when it comes to like crack and meth and stuff like that, like that's one thing, but when it comes to like psychedelics and things that should not be categorized as the same thing, but even honestly, who knows? I don't know. Maybe there's some happy crackheads out there. I don't know. But if you want to change your consciousness, that should be your humane right. You should be able to do if you're not harming other people, and you're not, and you're just changing your consciousness, that is there's people locked up for life. They're locked up for life because they had 20 ecstasy pills in their apartment or whatever. And they're locked up for life. That is absolutely preposterous.
Well, the thing people need to understand about ecstasy is it actually eats a hole in your brain. Physically, it eats a hole in your brain.
Ecstasy does, but
ecstasy does.
This is a good point because but
marijuana doesn't.
Well, there's a good difference between ecstasy and what we might refer to today as Molly, which is pure MDMA. There's quite a difference, but most people consider them the same thing. But there is a huge difference, and my stepbrother rather.
Hey, if
who
you
is
want
actually,
to burn a hole in your brain, then that should be your initiative too. Or
That-
that
Yeah,
should be your own reason, your own
It's
your own
a sin
choice.
it's a sin unto oneself.
Very,
And so therefore
yeah.
it's not a crime. So
And that's a very good point, Cortana. Yeah, but burning holes in your head aside, with pure MDMA, my stepbrother, who is a doctor, and when I mean doctor, I mean like he went to school for like 7,000 years, and now he's a doctor, but he was telling me one time that out of all of the drugs that there are to do, he said that pure MDMA is perhaps the safest, because even though it does initially affect certain parts of your brain can most people's brain rather can make a full 100% recovery from that within a couple of months. But now when you're talking about ecstasy, that stuff is cut with all kinds of speed and this and that and sometimes acid and I mean you never know, when you get the you know what I'm saying, like there's a difference between those little pills with the smiley face on them and the pure MDMA that's in crystal form.
And me, like I'm all about using pharmaceuticals responsibly, and I'm all about going the pharmaceutical route to treat depression, and I'm also all about doing the alternative methods as well, like at once. And I feel like they're scheduling these drugs that can actually help people, just because there are certain pharmaceutical companies that just want this huge monopoly on it. Because what's being tested right now for depression, or it's kind of in its experimental phase to treat depression, is ketamine. But insurance won't cover that, even because there's been I can't really quote the statistics on it, but people are having miraculous recoveries by doing weekly or monthly ketamine treatment.
Isn't that a painkiller too?
And depression.
It's
a painkiller as well.
Well, it's also
they're lobbying right now. They're lobbying right now to the pharmaceutical industries are lobbying right now to have that. What Cortana was talking about, to have that scheduled as a Schedule 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Because the pharmaceutical companies are lobbying for it, because you can get that in a plant leaf form, and that kind of takes the pharmaceutical companies out of the loop. They ain't going to be making any money, So again, like you said before, Gigi, in the past, it comes back to money.
Money.
All the money.
Man,
heaven forbid we cure our issues.
That's the thing with ketamine, though, is some people consider it a painkiller, some people consider it this. A lot of people consider it a psychedelic, and I can tell you as somebody that, although I've tried everything under the sun, I actually did not try this one willingly. I was actually drugged a couple of years ago with ketamine, and
Jesus.
That actually was not that was a terrible part of my life.
Someone snuck it on you.
Used in a clinical setting, with doctors present and doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists present,
that's been proven to be
as a cure for depression.
Yes, exactly.
It's just, and I mean, I would love to do that, because I'm not afraid to admit that I have severe clinical depression, and that would be a miracle for me, to be able to go throughout my life, not having to take meds every day and stuff. Sign me up.
And that reminds me of a fascinating point that I think we actually talked about this with Richard, either the last time or the time before that he was on, about how when you look throughout history, all the major, for lack of a better term, empires, like let's consider America the modern empire of today, basically, and you go back to the Romans and everything in between, these societies have been one of two things. Either one, completely open to psychedelics and their use and encouraging that, or two, completely against it, and they don't want them or their citizens or anything involved with anything they're doing to have anything to do with psychedelics. And when you look at the history of that, the most financially, or let's say economically, successful empires have been those that have completely banned psychedelics. But then what do you get? Well, you get what we have in America today. I mean, in my opinion, just for an example, I mean, we've got people that are, I feel like, let me re-say all of this by saying, I feel like a proper psychedelic experience, and by proper, I'm not talking about you and your friends get a bunch of mushrooms and play Super Smash Brothers for 6 hours. That's not what we're doing here. You know what I mean? Like, by proper, I mean make like Graham Hancock and go to South America and hook up with some shamans and have a proper ayahuasca experience. And anybody that's gone about this, like, if I were president, I would make a decree. Like, you've got to. Every person should have a psychedelic experience, a proper guided psychedelic experience, at least once a year, if not twice a year, just to kind of give you a little, like Joe Rogan says, actually, it's like doing a Control-Alt-Delete on your consciousness, just kind of, and your brain, just kind of just resetting from a neutral level and just reassessing where you're at and what is happening in your reality. And I feel like if everybody on the planet did that, we would just be miles ahead of where we are right now with all of our bickering and arguing over stuff that really doesn't matter, different terminologies of different types of people that people are parading about. And it just, man, I think we've really we've lost our touch as far as...
Yeah, see, that's one thing we're... Go ahead, Jim.
Bill Hicks said, as the great saint Bill Hicks said, he died for our sins. It's like a squeegee for the third eye.
Yes, that's a great... Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is.
Yeah, and the thing is, and this is where, like Gigi and I will disagree, is I don't think that everybody should do psychedelics. Some people don't need them. But
actually, that's a very good point. There are certainly, if you're like highly schizophrenic, that can be a bad thing. There's definitely some people that could be a bad thing for. But that reminds me of
some people that are woke up enough already that they really don't need it, nor should they.
Yeah, some people already have that switch turned on. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not going to encourage or tell someone to go out and do that. That would be, but it's like you said, if you're gonna shroom, or you're gonna do something like that, it needs to be in a controlled setting, and it shouldn't be in town. But that's neither here nor there.
Well,
I know Eric's kind of hanging out there in the background. I can see him.
Well, yeah, he's hanging out. He's right here.
I'm here.
But,
I'm just waiting for you guys to get part over this part, and then I'll introduce some ideas. But this is interesting, though.
Well, but real quick before we bring your ideas on, you bring up you made me bring up a good point that reminded me of myself of a good point, let's say, which is, when it comes to schizophrenia, and I believe we talked about that on the show once, briefly, but what we call schizophrenia in the West, on the more Eastern philosophy cultures, what we consider schizophrenia, they consider the first showing traits of someone that is a naturally born shaman. And in places like Tibet and in South America, they recognize these traits within a year of your birth. Some in the most case within 2 years of your birth. They recognize that you have these traits, and in those societies, they raise them as the utmost important pieces of their society, and they raise them to because essentially what's happening is they're having a very different interface between different dimensions and different frequencies of reality, and they're not sure what the hell is going on. But when they're brought up by shamans who properly understand this stuff, they end up growing up to be the most spiritually in tune, as far as their culture goes, the most spiritually in tune, most well-respected people. And it's these highly regarded shamans that take the utmost highest positions in their culture, which and like they say, they have there's two different versions of a shaman. There's those that are naturally born, and there's those that are not naturally born with those gifts, as they call it, but they do inspire to be a shaman. So those that do not have the gifts, they are brought up in the same way, but they're never allowed to reach the highest ranking, if you will, of shamanism because they weren't naturally born that way. But the naturally born ones are. But here's the thing, is in the West, these exact same traits are diagnosed as schizophrenia. And instead of showing them and leading them the way of what they're experiencing, instead they throw a bunch of drugs at them, they put them in a psych ward, they put them in the loony bin, and they grow up to be completely lost people in this society that just doesn't make spiritual sense to them. And it's very fascinating the way that both sides of the world treat this very same exact thing completely differently. And for a better, if you guys want to look more into this, look up Chris Ryan. He is a PhD. He wrote a book called Sex at Dawn. I know he's got a new book coming out, and he addresses this. He addresses this very specifically. I'm not sure which book it's in or which work it's in, but he does address this very specifically and nails it on the head better than I probably didn't even do. But
schizophrenia is a broad medical term. Schizophrenia is a broad medical term, and what you're saying, Gigi, some people are probably misdiagnosed with schizophrenia when they shouldn't be. Schizophrenia can cover, multiple personality disorder. Schizophrenia can cover someone who just has a
schizophrenia doesn't cover multiple personalities.
Yeah, like has a mental snap where they go out and shoot the mailbox. They pour a bunch of water and rocks into the gas tank of their car. That can be diagnosed as schizophrenia. Where they're not able to quite wrap their head around everything. So schizophrenia is a broad term. And I think what Gigi is saying is that some people in our culture misdiagnose an awakening or someone who's more deeply attuned to the universe and everything that's going on. They'll diagnose them with schizophrenia and they'll throw a bunch of drugs at them when really they shouldn't be doing that. But schizophrenia itself is a broad term that then has a lot of subcategories.
Yeah.
What I understand. So, it's, when I studied psychology in college, was the professor I had was like, you get them in, they have a psychotic snap, you get them into the hospital psych ward, you get them some medication to balance them out and to kind of get things under control. But after the 2 weeks that they're in there, you want to wean them off the meds and teach them how to deal with whatever's going on without the aid of medication. The medication initially was to just help balance them, get them down for a couple of weeks to figure out what's going on, and then get them to deal with it and wean them off the medication so that they're not always on medication. But nowadays, they're throwing, kids with ADHD and everything else, and it's just like boom, 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 when really a lot of that's just a creative soul. And they silence the creative soul in that fashion. So, but yeah, I agree with you.
I just don't think we have a school system that's for those of us who are diagnosed with ADHD and autism and other neurodiverse peoples. Because I'm ADHD.
Dude, our school system is completely wrecked.
When I was a kid, in grade school, I got into an altercation on the playground. I was staring at clouds looking for UFOs. I was probably in like the 5th grade. And a new kid that moved in the area. I was a year behind, so a little bit older than the other kids by a year. And this other kid was kind of muscular, come off a farm. Who's the oldest kid in school? And they all point to me, and he comes over and knocks me on the ground, and I kick his feet out from under him, and then I just like snapped and grabbed the whole of his head and was like banging it into the playground. Yeah. And so they and keep in mind I was a ward of the court, so they could do what they wanted to with me. And I found this out years later when I was taking psychology, that at that time, University of Michigan had a pilot program where they were doing an experiment with Ritalin, and I was getting 800 milligram doses 3 times a day.
And, oh dear! And at what age was this?
Oh God, 12. And they were keeping
Ritalin is no.
They did hypnosis stuff on me. They did they kept real close track of my height, and they actually rented a house. There was like a small group of us kids that were involved in this, and they actually rented a house about maybe 3 blocks from my house. It just happened to be it was that close, and they kept track of my height. The guy did some hypnosis on me. They had a ping pong table set up in the basement. But what they were doing is they were doing an experiment to see the effects of Ritalin over a long period of term, and they found that it delayed puberty and stunted the height. So you weren't getting as tall as what you would have gotten. So Ritalin had a bad effect. And then when my mom got sick and I went into foster care, my foster parents go, "What is this?" And then my family physician, the pediatrician, goes, "What? Who put him on that?" Bam! Boy, they took me off it right away. But I was on it for like a year, and part of that study. But as soon as my doctor found out, boy, he hit their roof and they yanked me out of it. But I think in a lot of cases, like for me, for example, I'm a creative person, and I think they were just, I'm not paying attention in school because, I'm thinking about UFOs and aliens and everything. Keep in mind, I'm 60 years old, that was a long time ago.
Well, this is what Chris Ryan says in because his new book is called Civilized to Death, I believe, and I've heard his podcast a lot, and just about how, like, okay, we're humans, we evolved in the jungle and in the wild, and so our learning experience was us just going out and experiencing things, and learning ancient arts of herbalism just through doing it, through study through on-hand study, with our parents, or learning how to hunt with our parents, and then you take that away with civilization, which is very relatively new. And then they shove us all into, boxes and say, hey, you need to learn these multiplication tables when, all you want to do is go out and explore.
Yeah. And, I probably should step away so Erik can come in and you guys can continue on. I just wanted to pop in real quick, and I apologize if I took over too much.
No, don't step away. No, hang out. But I wanted to interject something that maybe some of you know about, or have heard about, but I can tell you a personal experience. A lot of doctors say that we have two brains. We have a brain. We have a brain in our gut, also in our intestinal tract.
Yes.
And that brain.
That feeling.
Yeah, and here's what happened, and this is what, and I'm going to relate a personal experience that I don't talk about because it never really comes up. But since it's a topic now, when I was a kid growing up as a little baby, as a child, I had ear infections all the time. And my mother, we drank a lot of, we had a lot of sugar cereals and always had pancakes. So there's always a lot of sugar. And also to get rid of the ear infections, penicillin was what we used in that time frame. So what it did, and I don't think my mom knew, and I certainly didn't know as a child, is when you're putting the penicillin, any kind of antibiotics in your body, it affects your gut chemistry, and it can actually cause depression because what it does is it throws off the balance in your gut. So typically you should have like around 80% of good bacteria, and there's always going to be some bad bacteria in your body. So 80-20, let's say. So I lived with this for a long time. I battled depression for a long time. And then I didn't really figure this out until my 40s. I was ready to give up because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And then I stumbled across a naturopathic doctor who actually taught me all this. And he said, you need to stop eating this, this, and this. Try these herbs, and you need to use probiotics, and you need to use the right types of probiotics. You need to rebalance your gut chemistry. And then once you rebalance your gut chemistry, then this depression, he told me, would go away. And I'm like, gosh, it's my only chance here. But I did it. And in 6 months, I was completely free of all my symptoms. I wasn't depressed anymore. And it's been 15 years since I've been depressed. So that's pretty amazing for me personally.
Yeah, no, there's some pretty heavy correlation between the health of your gut and your psychological health. That's been pretty well established. And on that note, I am a very, very big proponent of basically what some people would call a paleo diet, or some people would call a ketosis diet. There is a difference there, but basically, essentially what it is no sugar. you just cut out sugar. And by sugar, we're talking about bread, wheat, grains, rice, pasta, all that stuff. When you eat that, that translates into sugar. When your body consumes that, it turns into sugar and inflames your body. And by inflaming your body, it causes your body to go acidic. And as a natural response, your body is going to take nutrients out of your bone marrow and your muscles to try to rebalance the pH and get it back alkaline. So people that are eating bread and pasta, I mean, and certainly there's some exceptions, absolutely. And this is kind of controversial for some reason. But for me, oh my God, I mean, just cutting out sugar and bread and grain and pasta and wheat and all that stuff out of your life, basically just eating meat and vegetables and some fruits. Because if you think about it, 95%, if we're to believe, our modern history or whatever, humans have only been around for a couple 100,000 years, which I could debate that all day on this show. I've got 2 words for you. Michael Cremo. Try to tell me we're no older than 200,000 years. But let's just say that we are. 95% of our existence has been us in the wild, basically kind of like cavemen. We're out there, we're hunting animals, we're hunter-gatherers. And what are we doing? We're eating animals and we're eating vegetables. We didn't have wheat, we didn't have grains, we didn't have, pasta. Like, we weren't eating that for 95% of our existence as human beings. And then all of a sudden, we've got all this, modern, technology in modern economy and society, and now we're able to produce, all these mass-produced pastas and wheats and breads, and you go to Walmart, you can get a whole loaf of bread for 78 cents or whatever it is, but we're just not designed to eat that. And when you eat that stuff, your body just gets inflamed, and it can directly have a psychological effect. And because I've experienced some severe depression too. Me and Cortana are not that. We're very similar in this regard, and I can tell one of the best things I've ever done was cut sugar out of my diet. And I know this is controversial, and that's not to say all carbs, because there's certainly some good carbs out there, but specifically sugar, which is what bread and wheat and rice and grains translates to, is sugar. If you can cut that stuff
well, I don't think
out
I'm going to
diet,
give up my rice.
well, yeah. See, I mean, some people.
But other than that, I mean, all I eat is like meat and vegetables.
Well, if you can at least make 80% of your diet, at least 80% of your diet sugar-free, you're going to be so much better off. Like,
oh, you reminded me of something, Gigi. I was in the local news here, up in Lake Huron here in the Great Lakes. They found it a while back, and now they're going to put a submarine in the water. They're going to, you have to subcontract it. But they found, below the waters of Lake Huron, they found a 9,000-year-old caribou hunting outpost camp.
See, there you go.
And, well, that means that Lake Huron, the water was far lower then than it is now. So the water's higher because the caribou camp would have been on dry land. But that was they're saying it's 9,000 years old. And I'm like, wow, we don't know anything about our history at all. I went off topic. Sorry. Just when you were saying the history, I thought, oh yeah, I read that in the news yesterday. I'm looking forward to seeing more images of that. That'd be sweet. 9,000-year-old caribou.
This goes back to interference. Like, what if it's just that, there is a few certain cabals, or the big they doesn't want us to know that we're much older and we were much, much more advanced. You know what I mean? Because think about it, the food has become contaminated, and so it keeps us, fat and dumb, and our bodies are unable to work as efficiently. And so, when your body's not able to work as efficiently as it possibly can, then you're not able to learn anything. You're not able to expand your consciousness or expand your knowledge of the world around you.
Yes, and I think health, your health is first and foremost, and I mean not only your health, but very specifically, like Erik brought up, what is your gut flora. Your gut flora, we've discovered I haven't done anything. I have no idea. But, they have discovered over the last few years that your gut flora has a significant impact on your psychological health. And, it kind of goes like my stepdad growing up. He was a huge germophobic. He had to wash everything with antibiotic soap or whatever that shit is, and he would, but when you're doing that, you're actually better off. Who was it? It was George Carlin. He pointed out in one of his jokes, we used to swim in raw sewage, and I never got sick. But that's actually a genuine point. I mean, you've got to, and same thing with people traveling to other countries. They drink other tap water. Their immune system's not built up for it. Well, you can do one of two things. You can build up your immune system to it, or you can just reject it and just be a germaphobe and not accept any foreign anything. And that just makes you that much more susceptible to any foreign bacteria or anything. But people think of bacteria as a bad thing, but bacteria is a very good thing. In fact, there's a lot of UFC fighters and a lot of grapplers and wrestlers. They use a very specific type of soap. How dare me? I forget the name of the company, but they make a very good soap that is that does it doesn't just kill all bacteria, because that's not what you want. You don't want all of your bacteria killed, because you are bacteria. We are bacteria. Our whole body is a giant pile of bacteria, but there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria, and so there's very specific types of soap. Defense soap, that's what it is. I'm proud of myself for remembering that. Defense soap. They are not a sponsor of the show, but I highly recommend it. I mean, it keeps all of your healthy flora and all of your healthy bacteria growing and essentially building up your immune system, while at the same time, helping to eliminate any unnecessary bacteria that you don't need. But some of those people out there that I know, several of them, they're germaphobes, and they're using antibacterial soap. That's the thing. Antibacterial soap is not your friend. That's killing just as much good bacteria as bad bacteria. And people don't.
Well, there's all these soaps that contain. I avoid these soaps at all costs. Of anything that contains sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium lauryl sulfate, because you're basically just washing your body with laundry detergent.
Exactly.
It's and you look on the back of your toothpaste tube, sodium lauryl sulfate. You look on the back of your shampoo, sodium lauryl sulfate. Your antibacterial soap, sodium lauryl sulfate, right there. And It is something that I avoid like the plague, because just to put it simply, it's laundry detergent. Maybe you should only wash your laundry with it and not your hair, and your skin absorbs that stuff.
Yeah, and there's another direct correlation with toothpaste that directly correlates with your pineal gland, your third eye, and that is oh my goodness, what after your dentist appointment, they try to give you that whole, they want to cover your teeth, and fluoride. That's right, fluoride.
No, thank you.
Fluoride will completely derail your third eye. And guess what's in pretty much, if you go to Walgreens and buy toothpaste, guess what's in there? Fluoride. And, you got to go to Whole Foods, or you got to go somewhere else to get fluoride-free. There's certain companies that specifically advertise, don't worry, there's no fluoride in here. But if you go to Walgreens, you're not going to find it. You go to Walmart, good luck. You're not going to find it. And most people don't know about that. It really, not only just think about derailing your third eye and what the consequences are of that. Now you're getting into your chakras. It's a domino effect from there. But that's another thing I'm a huge proponent on is avoid fluoride, and which unfortunately, depending on where you live, that's in a lot of our water, our public water, your tap water. They specifically add fluoride, even bottled water. A lot of bottled water, they add fluoride to it. And, some people don't think that's that big of a deal, but if you think about it, you're brushing your teeth in that water. You're taking showers in that water. You're cooking your food in that water. It's everywhere. And that we do not need not only do we not need to consume it, we do not need to be exposed to it on our skin, on our hair, whatever we're showering in, our teeth. It's just, man, we're just
Something's
ass
up.
backwards on some things. We are just ass backwards on some things here, and that is certainly that, the gut flora, and sugar. I mean, as far as we've talked about tonight, I mean, those are three huge things that are having a massive impact on everything from physical to psychological that most people are just simply not aware of. And why would they be? Why would they be? They're listening to CNN. They're listening to Fox. They're watching some cartoon on Netflix at night. They're not paying. Why would we be aware of that? Nobody's making a great public effort for anybody to be aware of that. And it's only because I'm a radio dork and I listen to every show under the planet and I'm always researching stuff that I even, and fortunately enough, I've been able to try a lot of this stuff out for myself, including a sugar-free diet. And I can tell you guys right now, cutting out sugar and bread and grains and rice and wheat and all that stuff is one of the best decisions I've ever made. And it works for me. Now, it doesn't work for everybody. There's obviously some exceptions, but for if you're a relatively anything like us, I couldn't recommend enough to look into some of this stuff, especially look into the ketosis, the ketosis diet, or the ketogenic diet rather.
And might I add, duck eggs are a very alkalizing food. They are alkalizing in that. Well, I don't know the in that's, but I know that they are on the list for top alkalizing foods are duck eggs, and because chicken eggs are more acidifying. So everybody switch to duck eggs, and they're way more nutritious and delicious.
And I'll tell you what, a couple of months ago, I had as my main course for dinner was the breast of duck. And let me tell you, that was more delicious than any sort of chicken product I've ever had in my entire life, son. That stuff is dank. Get there while you can.
Son. Hey, I got to throw a quick topic out there. I don't know if you guys want to talk about it, but are you guys aware that tonight was the airing of the Megyn Kelly and Alex Jones interview?
I was wondering when that was coming out. Is that so? It's out now.
Is Casper still on the call? Is Casper still?
All right. Well, everybody, stop listening to our show and go watch. No, I'm just kidding. But
no. I think it's over. It's over now.
Well, it's probably on demand. I'm sure something that big of a deal.
So, but what exactly? Like, I've got a rough.
Like he's just a character. Like I'm very interested to see what she got out of him, and what he brought to the table. If even if it's just for entertainment value. I mean, a lot of the stuff though, that Alex has said over the years is right. But now he's bless his heart, AJ, he's AJ. Yeah. I mean, he was awesome on Joe Rogan.
He
a few months ago.
And and bless his heart indeed. But you know what? I've tried to. Oh, it looks like we might be getting Debbie to call in a bit. But I've been trying to. Oh yeah, by the way, Debbie Daly's been hanging out in Spreaker chat, and
let's get her on.
Dude,
bring Debbie in. She's brilliant. She knows.
Trust me when I say we are psyched that you are anywhere near our show, and thank you. But
I think Speaker's going to give you a problem with bringing 5 people in.
I'm gonna drop. I think I'll drop out. So we can bring him in.
Well, hold on. Before anybody drops anywhere, let's just see if it works. First of all, but second of all, but real quick before we do bring anybody else on or anybody drops or anything, since we're all here, let's paint a clear picture here for the audience of what's going on, because I don't even have a fully clear picture. I've been keeping up very loosely with this Megyn and Alex Jones thing, but I'm not. I still can't. I would not be able to describe to our audience what exactly is going on. So, Erik, can you fill us in? Anybody...
I can.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Okay, so I'll try to make it brief. So I think it was last week, Megyn Kelly and Alex Jones got together and pre-recorded their interview that supposedly already has aired on TV today. And but I don't think Megyn Kelly knew at the time that Alex Jones was thinking in his mind that this is going to be a hit piece, that she's going to do this interview and then she's going to chop it up and then make it appear as though Alex Jones is just some crazy conspiracy theorist and that people don't need to listen to him, blah, 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 blah. So what he did is he actually secretly recorded the whole interview so that in the event that she did try to chop up the interview and kind of piece it together and make it appear as though he was saying things he wasn't, that he would have his own, his own version of it. So what he did is, I think it was yesterday, he went ahead and released his interview, the whole interview that was the real interview. And then all day today, he's been on Periscope, which I was watching it earlier, and he's got him and a couple of his other buddies, and they're basically doing a commentary while the show was airing. And they had who's that really old guy? I think not Dan Rather. Who's that other? There's one guy that's really old that's kind of retired now. They brought him out of retirement. Anyway, they're commenting about the whole conspiracy theory, situation. And the reality, in my opinion, I don't care for Alex Jones's personality so much, but I think he is accurate on some things, and I do think that there are false flags. I think that's some of the stuff that we don't get to hear about on the regular news. So it's basically a war between the alternative news and what we're now calling the fake news, which maybe it's fake, maybe it's not. But the point is there's somebody's lying. So
Yeah.
That's what's happening right now. They're both fighting over, he said, she said, and she lied and he lied. And so that's entertaining for some people. But the reality is we didn't have this a year or 2 or 3 or 5 years ago. We didn't have this kind of, back and forth fighting going on, which is good. I think it's a good thing because it gets people to pay attention to what's really happening.
Yeah, and when it comes to Alex Jones, we all know our general community's general thoughts on Alex Jones, and that's just what it is. But let's think about it. Alex Jones. All right, here comes Kitty. Alex Jones has, he's got a family. He's got kids to feed, and he has a business. Let's not mistake anything about this. It is a business. His whole network, it's a business. And he has to keep that going in order to survive financially. And I'm not going to name any specific examples, but it would appear to be that Alex is, he makes some money grabs from time to time. Like he wants to get more clicks. He wants to get more subscribers, hence more money, furthering his career. Now, with that said, I have not seen this interview with Megyn. And I can only imagine what went down, but I'm sure, I don't think it's 100. My general impression is I don't think it's 100% one side or the other. But at the same time, like Cortana said, I mean, he has been right about so many things that we thought were nothing more worthy than being tossed into the loony bin. Yet, here this stuff comes out, and he's been saying it for a couple of years. And so that credit, I just feel like we should have a little bit of a healthy Micah Hanks sort of skepticism towards situations like these, and let's really, let's try to think about this from both sides and what's going on here, and what's really at play.
Anyway.
Yeah, I have a difficult time with, and whether it's mainstream media on the left or the right, and alternative media in a lot of cases, you don't know what to believe because they're going off in these tangents which are definitely not true. They're poking at people and everything else. Then you have some of these alternative media people, or alleged alternative media people, that went and were like full-on trumpets. They went full-on endorse Trump, and my whole thing was, as soon as Trump was running around going, we're going to be able to track him with biometrics on land, on sea, or on land, on sea, and in the air. And, you're talking about biometric tracking of people. It could be the biochip or something, electronic tattoo or something we haven't seen yet. And it's like, and you have these people that are alternative media that are talking for years, oh, they're going to start biochipping people and they're going to start doing this and that, which probably they are. But then all of a sudden they're endorsing a presidential candidate that's saying, using biometrics, we're going to track, this would include U.S. citizens, by the way. Anyone who has a visa or a passport, we're going to be able to track them by, land, sea, and air using biometrics. Well, for years you've been like preaching biochip, we got to watch out for what they're coming about to do. But then all of a sudden you're endorsing a candidate that is talking about tracking people by land, sea, and air. Really? I had to scratch my head on that going, why are you endorsing this person when they're talking about using biometrics to track people? I mean, come on.
That's why we should have a healthy skepticism on everything.
Oh, that's why I have a healthy skepticism on it. And, Alex Jones is Alex Jones, and he goes off and says and does what he does. And a lot of points he's been pretty good on. But at the same point, and this is not to attack him at all. I just, when you see some of these people starting to jump in and endorse somebody who wants to use biometrics to track people, I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute. This guy's going against everything that you've talked about for years, and now you're suddenly endorsing him. It doesn't make sense to me. And I just wonder if something's changed or something happened. I really don't know. But again, just like an opinion thing, but I had to scratch my head and, why are you endorsing someone that wants to do all that? That just kind of like scratched my head is, you look at everything the Republicans have done since they've taken control of the Congress and the Senate and the White House, which I think the election was rigged, but, all the legislation that they're passing. I mean, employers are going to be able to take your DNA now. Internet neutrality is dead in the water. Your internet provider can monitor everything you do and sell it to third parties, including your banking information, social security card, your date of birth, anything and everything you do is up for sale now. That privacy is gone. They stripped it away. After Ferguson, Obama yielded to pressure, stopped militarizing the police force, and what have the Republicans done since taking control? They're going ahead and remilitarize the police. Well, exactly. Why do the police need an army tank and armored vehicles and bazookas and grenade launchers? I mean, come on. And I hear these far extreme right on one side going, the New World Order and blah, blah, blah. But you're endorsing these candidates that are militarizing the police. They want to bio-track people with biometrics. But you're talking the New World Order taking control, take away our guns. It's like, dude, why are you endorsing these people that are militarizing the police, want to start tracking people, gathering everybody's DNA into databases, and you're endorsing these people? They're about as New World Order as you're going to get, if you want to call it that. So, why are you endorsing these people when that's what they're doing? It makes no sense at all. None. I'm just like,
let me just jump in real quick, Casper, just because I thought exactly what you just said is exactly what was going on in my brain. But today, for the first time, I actually paid attention to him for about an hour, and he actually was denouncing what he was claiming. A lot of what you just said, and I'm not sticking up for him, I'm just saying what he said, is that these people that he, in other words, he was saying he doesn't endorse these people, he doesn't endorse these ideas, and so on and so forth, that it's the quote-unquote fake news media that's putting it out there to discredit him, to make him look crazy, so that, in other words, that's what he's claiming right now. So I don't know, maybe that's true.
So I read the legend. You can go to the .gov websites like I did, and you can read the legislation, man. Yeah, I mean, you can't rely on mainstream media. You can't rely on alternative media. You hear about legislation that they're passing. Generally speaking, they'll post up what the bill number is. You can go into a search engine, type it in, pull up the .gov website, and you can read the legislation. For example, I read the Blue Act of 2017. It's a great act. A lot of good stuff in there. Paragraph 5, it's going to make it almost impossible for civil action against the police if they violate your rights or beat you and you haven't done anything wrong. It's taking out that one thing.
Can we get Debbie in now? I want some feminine.
Go ahead, Debbie. I'm sorry, Erik. I'm not trying to. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to bring that out real quick.
Yeah, but you can go to the .gov. Well, no. This is what I'm saying here, and you make a good point, Erik. is that he's saying this is all fake. This is all fake. Well, you know what? Not everything they say is fake is fake. You know, you can go to the .gov website and read the legislation that they're passing, because I do. And, you know, so, you know, I don't want to say something unless I'm able to I went and I looked at the legislation. You know, I wrote a blog posting on Paid to Blog recently, and when I made mention of a legislation, I put a link in there, said, look at this paragraph, and posted the link to the legislation, which is a .gov website, so people can look at it themselves. Not everything that we're hearing is fake news. A lot of it is, and a lot of it isn't, but we have to have discernment where you can figure out what's fake and what's not fake. You know, so it's like what Newt Gingrich said. You know, they're running so many things on parallel tracks that it's difficult to keep track of, and this is being done by design. I mean, they're like bragging about it, and that's a direct quote from Newt Gingrich, you know, former Republican Speaker of the House from the Reagan era. He was a Trump advisor. So, you know, Trump being there, I have a whole thing on how Trump got there and what's going on, but that's a whole other show. But yeah, as when you hear stuff, Erik, and you're right, that we need to verify and use discernment. And if you hear like this legislation and someone says, well, that's not true, and someone else saying it is true, well, research. You can go to the .gov websites and look at the legislation that they're ramming through. And, you know, and to have someone out there going, oh, that's fake news, it's like someone sitting in church listening to somebody preach and go, you know, God said this and God said that. Well, why don't you pick up the Bible and read it for yourself? You know, why don't you take a look at the original Greek, Hebrew, or Latin that it was written in and translated from, and take a look at it and then figure it out for yourself. You know, don't always believe what somebody else tells you. You know, do the research. And it's not easy to do research. It takes time and takes dedication. But not everything that's come across is fake news. A lot of it is, but not everything is. And I just, you know, this country's the whole planet's so divided right now that it's not even funny. You know, but go ahead and bring Deb in. I'm sorry, I'm just running off.
Oh, well, I'm not sure if she's actually going to.
I asked her to call, but I don't know if she try to go to a Skype.
Well, she sent me a request, but
okay.
I don't know. I don't think she's planning on.
Why don't you just call her then? I mean, she's cool. I'm sure if she didn't want to talk, she won't answer. But she's cool.
Well, I gave an invitation.
If you want, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Don't worry.
We'll try it. Hell,
give it a try.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. There she is.
And Casper, while he's doing that, you're exactly right. And here's what I see is probably less than 10% of people like yourself, for example, that are doing the actual research, and you got 90% of the people out there that are not researching this. Go ahead.
She goes,
oh no, I'm like, yeah, Debbie joined. I'm like, yay, yay! I'm not the only girl in this sausage
Well, let's
festival.
let Debbie and Cortana take over.
They must have fixed Skype, because I've never seen this many people in a Skype chat before.
Me
never
neither.
been on my show.
I cannot believe this is working, actually, especially after everything that didn't work with Richard.
All the technical difficulties. Hello, Debbie.
Hey.
Hi, is this Cortana?
Yes.
Hi, Cortana. It's nice to meet you. I'm Debbie. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm putting so much in the chat room, but I have a lot to say about what you're talking about.
Well, then say it. I haven't checked the chat room, so definitely say it.
Let's hear it. And by the way, we've got 13 minutes, so let's do this. What you got, Debbie?
Well, I just said that I don't trust the lamestream media. They're the ones that told us that Oswald killed JFK. Okay?
Exactly.
I saw that. I wrote that. And I don't believe anything that I hear on the mainstream media. It's horrible. It's a joke. When the elections were going on, are y'all kidding me? Did y'all not watch the news and see what all was left out? They never mentioned anything about the Clinton Foundation. They never mentioned anything about that. It was just everything's great about Hillary and everything about Trump is horrible. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of Trump, but still, I thought it was a little bit ridiculous that they were that slighted. You know, my uncle, I'm just going to say this one thing. I know you said you have 13 minutes. My uncle was at one time the news director of the #1 station in Lubbock, Texas, and at the same time, the #1 FM and AM stations. And he used to teach us all the time, the news is to report the news. And now all they do is give their commentary, what they think about it. And that's wrong, because you can influence a lot of blue-haired ladies and a lot of people in this country. So there.
Well, to follow up on that point, a few weeks ago, I was watching oh, what's his name? He has the HBO show. Well, first it was okay.
Maher?
So I watched one of these shows.
Bill Maher?
Not Bill Maher. The English guy.
Yeah, the black guy, right?
Well, the English guy on HBO. Is it John Oliver or?
No, there's John Oliver. There's Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah's a black guy from South Africa.
So I've watched both. I watched both those shows in succession, just because I was watching them with my boyfriend, and they were just sort of on. But like, I watched one of those shows, and another one of those shows. I was basically watching the same show because they were using the same exact clips of where they were slanted towards the left, and left is good and left is bad, and then on the second part of the show, it's right is bad, and the right is blah blah blah. They use these same exact clips. I mean, it could have been the same show, for God's sakes. Like, I mean, right down to the things that they said and they commented on. I mean, and now, you have these comedians who are hosting news, sometimes literal comedians, or it's like, with their news satire shows, but they're still saying the same thing, and they're still, they're incredibly slanted, incredibly.
That's
that was just some random thing that I noticed.
That's because the mainstream media is owned by the left. That's facts. It goes all the way back. Yep, it goes all the way back.
And all that. Yep.
Yeah. It goes all the way back to the days of the cattle barons, to the when the railroad barons were taking over this country. It goes all the way back. If you do your research and build it forward, it's if you're on the right, you're basically screwed. I mean, stand your ground, but you know what I'm saying? This country's ran by the left. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, by the way.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
I can't watch Fox News. I can't watch CNN. I mean, I'll look at them from time to time to keep current and update, but they're the, whether it's the Huffington Post or Fox or whatever, they're the extremes of either side. And, you got to try and find something that's in the middle. And
well, I'm interested in
like I said, I don't trust the Democrats. I don't trust the Republicans. Everything we see going on now, it's like the entire time Obama was in office, they had stopgap budgets, and every time they did a stopgap budget, they slipped in some legislation that takes away more and more of your rights. I mean, you look at what they did in December of 2015 with the stopgap budget there, going into the 2016 election, was, they're trying to get CISPA through, and then they rebranded CISPA. And the Republicans did this about Obama. The Democrats all voted for it, and he signed it on a temporary budget, stopgap budget, where basically the NSA is going to pay these internet providers and telecom providers to hold on to your information so that they can use Visa or FISA, whatever it is, to go in and grab the information. Well, these companies are already holding on to the information anyway. So now we're going to get to go ahead and pay them to do it. And in that stopgap budget, they introduced legislation to make it so that we, the public, as an individual, can't sue these telecom providers for breaching our right to privacy. They made them exempt from civil lawsuits in that stopgap budget.
Well,
they did stuff like that with the whole thing. It's nuts.
Yeah. Hey, I'm right here. Okay, what I'm interested in is what Debi did, the origins of this, and how it started with the cattle barons, and the origins of this mainstream media. And it's like, I never knew that at all.
Back in the old days, there were some very, very rich men who that loaned some money to people. And that's where they walked in and they basically took over. The Federal Reserve, every piece of money that you have in your wallet and in my wallet right now, has nothing to do with this government. It is owned by a private corporation. The Federal Reserve is a private corporation.
Yes.
And the IRS is also an illegal entity in this country. And when you're born, the reason that your birth certificate is all caps, you don't realize that when your parents sign that, they sign you over to be part of the corporation of the United States. That's fact. I can prove that. That's not my opinion.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, you look at what the example most people are aware of. You look at the campaign that they did with Reefer Madness, and the guy that funded all that, owned the newspaper, he owned the timber industry, and hemp paper was going to cut into his profits and other hemp products, and they did a campaign against it and made marijuana illegal. That's but that and again, it's not just the right, it's the left as well. They both use the media to their advantage, both of them. It's not just one, it's both.
What about what Richard Nixon did when he stamped out marijuana? He had an advisory team. He appointed a team of people to go and do this much research as they could. They came back and they said, we find nothing wrong with marijuana, and he tore it up. He tore up the report. That's another fact. That's not my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we need Debbie. We need you on for a full show because I need to hear this.
We do actually, and thanks for calling in. By the way, we really
I'm
appreciate
just getting warmed up. No, I'm joking. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for calling in.
Yeah. I'm so glad you came.
It was good meeting you, Debbie.
And you know what? Yeah. We might. Well, officially we have 5 minutes, but you know what? The way we've there's been a lot of rescheduling around our network, and I think right now there is no show coming on after us. And if that is the case, we can actually go for longer. So I'm going to double check with Joe while you guys keep chatting. I'll be back in just a minute.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He was he wrote that book, The Emperor Has No Clothes, the hemp book. I can't think of his name for the life of me.
Google.
Oh man, and it should be right down there. He's real famous. I think he's deceased now. But he wrote that book, The Emperor Has No Clothes, about hemp and marijuana and how it was made illegal. And that was just it was a really, 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 really good book. Oh my word! I'm going to go Google that right now.
It's Hans Christian.
Jack Hara.
I thought it was Hans Christian. No, I'm looking at. I just looked at the Emperor's New Clothes. I looked at the wrong one.
Yeah, Jack Hara is who we're talking about here, and he was one of the first real big hemp advocates. And he died April 15th of 2010. But he wrote that book, The Emperor Has No Clothes, and that is a really, really, really good book to read. Because it really breaks down with how it was done, who did it, why they did it, and everything else. I did some hemp rallies with him in a band at the foot of the Federal Building in downtown Los Angeles back in the early 90s. And he's a really nice guy. But, if you really want to know about hemp and marijuana, how it's made illegal, Jack Hara, Emperor Wears No Clothes. The last name is spelled Herer. So Herer. But Jack Hara. That's a really, really good book. I'd highly recommend reading it if you haven't read it already. I mean, that's like the go-to book for. It's probably not current anymore at this point as far as things have happened since the book was published. But to get a good history on it, that's a really good book to read. I recommend it. Am I still on?
Well,
oh yeah. Okay.
So, Debbie, what we were talking about, I don't know how long you've been in here and been listening to the show tonight, was interference within all of our communities, as far as like UFO disclosure communities and other of those of us of the alternative media. We're just going to throw out the word alternative or whatever. Do you have any insight on this? Because there's been a lot of infiltration and interference. Especially lately, it's all come to a head.
It's going to get worse because I believe we are in a period of enlightenment, and we are in a period to where things that we've been told were crazy, they're going to start taking a second look at, and it's going to make I call it the left. It's going to make the elitists very nervous because they're going to realize that there's a lot of people in this country that are smarter and more intelligent and more aware and more awakened than most of the people that are in the elitist, and they're going to get very nervous about it. And you will see a lot more interference coming into that kind of situation because they don't realize that with the internet and in the age of enlightenment that we're in, that more people are becoming more and more aware of things that they don't like people to talk about, if you know what I'm saying. That's kind of generalizing it, but that's definitely my opinion. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that answer your question?
I mean, and the whole reason why we were having this roundtable discussion was because we got some massive interference, with our guest, and this particular guest, Richard Allen Miller, he is just chock full of information, and we've always had issues every time we've tried to record with him, and it's been it was even worse today, and I'm seeing interference and derailing at the ground zero kind of level, like at from a personal level, and then from a macro level as well, and disinformation and
you're right,
all of this,
because
it's all coming to a head.
Exactly. And the reason why, like, for example, some of the most recent UFOs that have been posted online. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the UFO at the what's it called? In Jerusalem, what was that called? Something on the Rock, or anyway, it was a pretty amazing
The Dome on the Rock.
The Dome on the Rock. Have y'all seen that? Have y'all seen that UFO video?
I've heard about it.
You haven't seen that?
I haven't seen it. I need to.
Yeah, the Dome on the Rock has a real interesting history, in that originally what
isn't it a meteor or something?
Right. Well, okay. The Dome on the Rock is.
Or no, it was like an abduction site.
Right. The Dome on the Rock is a Muslim mosque. Prior to the Dome on the Rock being there, there was some other stuff there. That's where Israel believes that Solomon's temple was originally, and a lot of them believe that prophecy says that they'll rebuild Solomon's temple. In order for Solomon's temple to be rebuilt, if that's the location where it was, which is now a Muslim mosque, that mosque has to be destroyed. If there was a UFO sighting over that mosque, because UFOs tend to, Debbie, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is UFOs tend to often show up just prior to a major event in human history, and that Dome of the Rock is a big dispute between the Jewish religion or Judaism and Muslim Islam, or Israel and the Arab nations. So that's a big distinction. And if there was, when did this sighting happen? Like in the last month?
It was recent. I'd have to look. It's pretty amazing, though. I'll tell you that.
I'm going to say, because UFOs tend to show up around a lot of times around major events, because keep in mind, they don't look at time the way that we do, where the Earth circles around the sun and has axis. And a lot of times they'll use an event in Earth's history as a reference point. So if they're over the Dome on the Rock, which, if I'm correct and remember what that is, that's where the Muslim mosque is, which is built supposedly.
Well, it was taken over by Muslims. It originally belonged to the Jewish people. Rightfully so. It was a beautiful place, wonderful place, and it was taken over.
So if there's a UFO sighting there, I'm going to say keep an eye on it, because I would say in the very near future, being a few months to a few years maybe at the most, that something's about to happen with that area right there, and maybe specifically the Dome on the Rock, or the UFO wouldn't have been there.
Well, I wonder, and I've always wondered why they always hang out over Area 51, in those parts of the world over there, because maybe there is something. Yeah, maybe there is something underground that they want back, like an ET phone home type of a situation. That's just my opinion. Yeah. I mean, it makes a little bit.
Well, I mean, if you go down to, we were all just at me, Erik, and Gigi were all just at a Joshua Tree, and there's a military base right there, but it's also a very mystical place in California. It's a very high energy, lots of sightings. It's home to Giant Rock and the why am I forgetting the name? Help me out.
You're talking about Contact in the Desert, right?
Right, and you got Desert Springs there, 29 Palms. The U.S. Geological Survey team recently put up an alert that because there's faults up there that connect up to the San Andreas, and there's something going on in the ground that they detected where they're worried in the very near future that they're going to have an earthquake out there with a magnitude of possibly 7.9, and that's going to hit the San Andreas, which runs up, through LA, and that the quake will go probably, 10, 20, or 50 miles north of Los Angeles. So that's one major earth shifting.
Down in Arizona Bay.
Yeah, so if the fault lines around, Joshua Tree, Desert Springs, 29 Palms, if those faults shift like a 7.9, that's going to hit the San Andreas, which is going to cause that to quake, which is going to cause multiple quakes throughout the western seaboard, that you're going to probably feel as far north of San Francisco. And, but, so if we see a lot of UFO traffic in that area, all of a sudden I would be watching, Earth movements. But, I don't know, Deb, you think I'm wrong about UFOs show up around major events? I mean, look at World War II with the Foo Fighters.
Wow. Yeah, let's hear it.
This is true. There's no doubt about that. No, I was just looking up something while you were talking, but no, I completely agree. It always seems to happen when there's something big. They always seem to come down when something big is fixing to happen, and it's happened before in the past.
And
correct?
You know what's
just to let you guys know, the Dome on the Rock was February in 2011.
Okay.
It's an old video, but it shows, just to paint the picture, it shows multiple people film this, and Debbie knows this, and it shows a ball of light, a huge ball of light, come down, hover over the top of the dome for a brief period of time, and then shoot up. And apparently 4 or 5 different sources were filming this simultaneously, and they all had, so it wasn't hoaxed. It was real.
Well, I'd be interested to look and see what happened leading.
I'm wondering if there's been any sightings since.
Well,
I'll post it on Twitter so you guys.
I mean, all the activity that's going on within the Middle East, for the last forever, but the modern activity that's going on now, it doesn't. It surprises me, but it doesn't.
Well, here's the thing. Is when it comes to these interferences by UFOs, more specifically over nuclear bases of every country of military. It's not just America, it's not just Russia, it's everybody. Here's what happens, which most people don't go this much into detail into, which is kind of surprising because this is where it gets pretty shifty. Pun partially intended. Is when, okay, so you've got, you got a nuclear base, you got some nuclear weapons, and you're ready to rock, right? And these UFOs fly over the base, they freak everybody out, and the next thing you know, these nuclear weapons are deactivated. But that's where the story stops, and this is where it continues. Not only were these weapons deactivated, but they had all their scientists and technicians go in there, completely reverse engineer their own technology, completely take it apart, and completely reassemble it and repair anything that needed fixing, replaced anything that needed replacing, and they completely rebuilt these nuclear weapons. And even then, they still would not work. Whoever these people, whoever these beings, whoever this other team is, not only did they deactivate the weapons, but they prevented them from being reassembled with some sort of technology that we do not know to exist yet today. And this has been accounted in multiple different countries, and a very great example of this is Dr. Stephen Greer's panel that he did back in, I want to say, 2001, the Initial Disclosure Project, where he had all those guys out there. And it's also fascinating to hear how that was not as widely distributed as it was initially agreed to be, and how that all got shut down is also interesting too. But just that point, though, the fact that even after reassembly, complete reassembly, they still did not work. And that's something that I don't hear addressed enough. And I think just that right there, boom, son, that's interesting enough in itself.
Yeah, and if they're jumping back and forth through time, maybe something happened with those missiles. They slipped back a little bit in time and prevented it from happening. It hits the Mandela effect.
Yeah, but what about them? After all that happens, then they get all their parts and they reassemble it together just like the way it was, but it still doesn't work. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, that's weird. Because there's complex circuitry in there And if they're shutting that down, then, or they've got some type of energy field or some kind of interference that they're running. We know what EMPs are, electromagnetic pulses. But what if there's something would be like an electromagnetic pulse, but we're not aware of it yet? Because we haven't explored science that much, and they're able to shut it down through something of that nature, but different. It's not an electromagnetic pulse, but that would be the closest way I could describe it because it's something we haven't seen yet, as far as we are as a species. So yeah, because they're so far advanced that over us. And that's where Greer and I disagree is on the peaceful thing, but I think it's a mixture of the two. But Greer's work is great, and if you haven't seen Onic Knowledge, you should watch it.
Yeah,
and you can link.
And you know what? That brings up a very got some weird sounds there. That brings up a very good point, which I wanted to point it out very much earlier. And that is this. Now, what I'm about to say could be something, or it could be nothing at all. And this is just an idea that came across me that unfolded over these last 3 or 4 weeks, and that is this, which is ever since essentially Contact in the Desert, ever since that weekend, ever since that weekend, we've had this infiltration of what Jimmy Church has described as an infiltration of the ufology community, and by that he means. And dude, we have felt the ripple effects of that even over here. As small of a show as we are, in the network that not to say that we're small, but just we felt it too. You know what I mean? In Jimmy Church and his network felt it, and it goes all the way up to MUFON. MUFON almost got detangled as an entity in itself because of this. I mean, this has stretched across our whole circle of friends that does anything like what we're doing here tonight. And with that said, most people are attaching it to Contact in the Desert, right? Because that's what happened that weekend. But you know what I noticed? And I talked with Jimmy about this on his show last Thursday. I called in at the very end, and we talked about this a little bit. Not enough, but we did talk about it a little bit, and so I want to fully elaborate here. Now, I'm not fully endorsing this idea. I just noticed this, and I'm just fully addressing this as a possibility, but I'm not saying that I buy into it. I'm just saying, let's think about this, because that same weekend, guess what else happened that weekend? The documentary by Stephen Greer, Unacknowledged, became available for rent that exact same weekend. And let's be very clear about this, because before the movie had premiered a whole month before that, right? But it wasn't until 2 weeks after that it became available to buy. Let's be very clear about this. You had to spend at least $20 to buy it. And versus after Contact in the Desert during that weekend, all of a sudden it became available to watch for $3. And let's not underestimate for 1 second how much of an impact that $17 difference would affect a lot of people from seeing that documentary that otherwise would not have paid to see it. You know what I mean?
We showed it at the Fader House. We went and rented it at the Fader House, and we all sprawled out family style and watched it.
And we sure did. But hold on though. Here's the thing is that, and just like me and Jimmy pointed out last Thursday, this documentary isn't anything new for anybody like me or Debi or Casper or Erik or Cortana or anybody. We all kind of knew this, right? But here, this is the big deal, is that it is new for a lot of people, and a lot of people could not have afforded to have seen that documentary until that weekend when it became available for $3. Guess how many people finally that wanted to see it? They wanted to see it. They wanted to check it out, but they couldn't because they don't have an extra $20 laying around. You know what I mean? But they finally. Oh, okay, it's only $3 now? Oh, well, now I can watch it. And even though it's new for us, think about Jimmy actually described it the best. It's basically a class 101. Here is where we're at right now within our community. Even if you're the dullest brick on the block, you cannot watch that documentary without understanding what's going on. And even though we all understood that, obviously, but there's a lot of people that did not, that did after they saw that documentary. And what happens after that happens? Well, all of a sudden, all of our networks are getting hacked. All of our shows are getting hacked. All kinds of different disinformation is going on. What happened with Richard Allen Miller tonight is that's a prime example. I mean, stuff has just been going haywire for all of us, and it all stems from that exact same weekend. Contact in the Desert and the mainstream release of this documentary. And I mean, it might be nothing. It might be nothing, but I feel like this is at least worth pointing out and at least worth discussing.
It was going on before Contact in the Desert.
And that's what Janet said from Aquarian Radio. She said that too. She said
it was going on before because, I mean, I'm pretty deep into the UFO thing, and
it was, but now we all know it. Now we've all seen it. It's not something that just happens occasionally. Like, it's just all happening right now.
It was going on before Contact in the Desert. It's been going on for a long time, but then maybe about 3 or 4 weeks before Contact in the Desert, it was picking up speed in various UFO forums and stuff like that. It was like picking up a little more speed. And MUFON did something that a lot of people put a question mark by, because they kind of put MUFON where Richard Dolan is, or where Micah Hanks is where, it's more of a scientific, we want, the kind of proof, and we don't want to go off into the weird stuff that you can't somewhat back up with paperwork, which Greer does. I mean, Greer backs everything that he says up, with documentation. And when, you take something that normally has a symposium or whatever that is normally, okay, everything's documented, everything's this, that, and that, and then all of a sudden they do something that goes completely away from that, that goes into the, I have this experience and this happened in my life, but I don't have any. And you need to be able to hear those people. You need to listen to those people. And Jimmy's right there on that respect. But when some of them went off and they have a speaker come in that's over on that area, come in and speak at a symposium or whatever, where it's more scientific orientated, that kind of set some people off. I watched some people get set off over that. So I'm not naming names here, okay? So, but
I'll name a name when you're done.
And that bothered a lot of people because they were more prone to, we want, the kind of the Greer approach, the Dolan approach, the Micah Hank approach, and the MUFON approach, where everything's kind of documented, it's all being done scientifically, and then something happened. And everybody went, whoa, wait a minute. We don't want this crossing over into our turf. I guess maybe that's the way to put it. But Erik, you had a thought on that?
Okay, I'll tell all of us know the story, but I won't even mention the name because we know who the name is. But there is, okay, and I'm sure Casper's been following, but, we've got people that have that claim to have contact with entities, beyond our awareness. And that one entity, the blue avion, came about, a year or two back, whenever it was, maybe with that guy, and they sat down and they did lots of interviews, and then that particular person's been on Jimmy's show. But now, for some reason, just recently, it's come to a head because there's another guy that's on YouTube, and I won't mention his name, but he's the one that came out with all the videos, kind of trying to knock the whole blue avian story, so to speak. So I think that is really what's happening. That's caused more of a distraction than anything currently. I don't know what your take might be on that.
Well, on that note, let me tell everybody, and and I'm gonna say it right, like we are not affiliated with this company or these people at all. We're not sponsored by them at all. I'm saying this genuinely. When it comes to Unacknowledged, like I did, I bought it on Vimeo first and I watched it, but then only then did I realize, oh, well, if you buy it on iTunes, then you get a bunch of bonus stuff. You get a full 3-hour interview with Stephen Greer, and you get an hour and a half. More importantly, you get an hour and a half interview with Richard Daly. Now, I know, yes, I already hear it, I feel it. I know there's a lot of controversy behind Richard Daly, but listen, I feel like that those extra interviews that you get when you buy it on iTunes are more, at least for people like me and Casper and Erik and Cortana and Debi, it's very much more useful and much more puzzle piecing than the actual documentary in itself, because a lot of the most significant stuff that they said, let's put it like this, like in the movie, you see Stephen Greer, he's in this chair, and that's where they're interviewing him, and then same thing with Richard Daly, but they cut out a bunch of stuff that never made the final cut. But when you get the iTunes version, you get all of the stuff that didn't make the final cut. And when you get all of that, and you listen to all that, it does paint the same picture initially, but it also paints a whole nother picture. And that there in itself is, I cannot recommend it enough.
Do you have to have an Apple product to watch that from iTunes? Because I know that music you don't, but I know with movies, a few years ago, I wouldn't buy anything off iTunes because I don't have an Apple product.
Well,
so I could pay for it, but I can never watch it.
Well, they have it now because although I am all Mac computers, I've got Mac computers here. I'm exclusively Mac. I will never change that. But when it comes to the phone, Android, son. Android. All the way. I will never get an iPhone. And which is funny because, you would think the other way around. But honestly, the Android version of the phone is just as useful as the Apple version of the computer. But
I'm gonna go back to talking about infiltration and
yeah. Yeah, or I can make another attempt to get
for the next.
Yeah, don't let me get.
I can make another
on
attempt
you.
for some death
Yeah,
threats.
let's.
I can't believe I said what I said a couple times on Feeling the Pulse of Society, and actually I do believe it.
Well, you better believe it.
I didn't get any death threats. I was like, what? Oh, come on! Clearly, I wasn't understood. I didn't get any death threats. I mean, I insulted an entire religion severely. Where if I was in a certain country, I'd probably be stoned to death. And I was like, I can't believe I didn't get that. No. I almost feel like disappointed. I didn't get any death threats. I mean, I basically said it was to paraphrase it. The Prophet Muhammad had 2 alien abductions, jinn, alien, whatever. And the second one was more like the assault thing. And I more or less said he got probed, and the entire religion is based on alien contamination and interference. And I said that. I just said it again. So, but I'm just kind of surprised I haven't got any death threats over it.
I mean, the big three are all pretty much based off of this entity, named Yahweh, who has a very violent temper, and now we're while some groups who subscribe to the Bible, have calmed down a lot. Now we're just seeing another holy war going on between the 2 Abrahamic groups as well, and then we've got UFOs out of nowhere, and
well, that's probably a whole nother show that we could do. The 3 of us.
That probably is.
But because I think it's more than one alien entity that did this, but based on my research, but that I think it's more than one alien entity that did it, but that's a whole different. That's like a 2-hour show.
Well, let me.
But I don't know what Debbie thinks about all that kind of thing. But
I've got a good question for Debbie in a second. But real quick, let me paint this picture. I mean, imagine us as humans. We've got Americans, we've got Russians, we've got Asians, we've got Japanese, we've got all of our different factions, of humans, right? But at the same time, let's imagine we just went out to the Congo one day, and there's a bunch of chimps running around with slingshots and and AK-27s. You know, like if we see them using that stuff, you know, we're gonna be like, whoa, 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 stop, right now, stop. What's going on here?
Bad monkey.
How did you get that? How did you get that AK-27? Did you make that? Oh, you did? You did make that? Well, guess what? Now we're going to lock you up in our science labs, and we're going to figure out how you figured that out, because you are not supposed to know this. And so what's to say that just in the same way, like what you know, some, whether it's the Nazis or whoever, got in touch with some sort of, you know, advanced something, and all of a sudden they got in their hands, and what's to say that not only another race, but multiple races of other people that we wouldn't quite consider humans kind of came down, especially, you know, once we dropped those nuclear bombs in Japan. That was a pretty big, like, solar system wide, like, okay, something's gone wrong here. And some people came down and be like, where did you get this? Just in the same way that we would approach chimps in the Amazon or the Congo. Just like, how did you do, what's going on here? You know, we would if we saw a bunch of chimps doing that, we would shut that right down. And honestly, that's what it seems to look like with all of our nuclear bases, with multiple different countries, always constantly being shut down by these, what we call UFOs. And like I said before, they're not only shut down, but they are prevented from being rebuilt by some means that we do not understand to this day. And I feel like, you know, the fact that I mean, maybe it's not a fact, but most people look at us as the highest end in the food chain, yet it seems kind of clear that we're probably not, because somebody's making sure that we're not blowing ourselves up.
Yeah, that's true. Or at least not blowing ourselves up yet.
Not yet.
You know, and maybe they're giving us a chance to try to pull out of everything. But I go back as if it weren't for the young contamination and interference, you know, whether intentional or unintentional, where would we be right now? But then again, in that same respect, you know, we could have wiped ourselves out already, you know, and the contamination and interference might have been an attempt to keep us from doing that. But exactly. Or it could be the result of it, or a combination of things. But, you know, because like I said, we don't know yet everything. And, you know, and it's like all the people we were talking earlier about, the discord in the UFO community and conspiracy community, you know, that you do have to, and I agree with Jimmy and other people on this, that you have to give everybody a voice so people can call in and talk freely. And over time, we'll see what comes out to bear as being correct and what isn't. But, you know, right now we can't say for sure either way, you know, and it's nice to hear what people have to say. But, and if you know there's somebody that you don't like what they're saying, well, then don't listen to that particular episode on that podcast. You know, turn it off then. You know, if you don't want to hear it, then turn it off. You know, and focus on what it is you want to focus on. But, you know, same time, keep an open mind, you know, be informed and learn. And as things become known, as disclosure, well, I don't need disclosure. Gigi doesn't need it. I mean, I grew up aware, so I never had a need for disclosure. But, and a lot of people here in the chat room and listen to these shows never had a need for disclosure because they've always been awake. But, you know, for those that aren't, you need to just gather the information, hold on to it. And, you know, and as things become more known and we have more evidence and more this or that, okay, well, this proved to be wrong. Okay, discard that. Keep this, keep that. And you're getting it from multiple sources.
Gigi, what was your question for Debi if she's still here?
Well, yeah, okay. Well, yes. All right, that's a good point. All right, so, Debi, I'm curious just to hear your side of things on what Jimmy has described as this last 3 or 4 weeks of the infiltration of our ufology community. Have you experienced anything in the last month that has thrown you off in any way or another? And if you have, do you have any inklings as to what side of the fence, if you will, it came from? And what is your experience of this last month? And has it affected you and your show and everything that you are doing?
To begin with, I think it's very conceited for us. I have an infiltration right now, a sound. I think it's very conceited for us to. I think it's very conceited for us to believe that we're the only life in this universe. I think that is probably number one, the most conceited thing I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely.
I do believe. Yes, do believe that there are others out there. I do believe that they come down now and then, but I have a very strange look at aliens, quote, UFOs, things along those lines. I believe that some of them, if not most of them, are us in the future, people in the future that have already gone on.
Yeah.
I know that sounds a little far-fetched, but I just believe what I believe. And I do know that the shadow government that we live under, which I could go on forever about, I know that they're going to do everything they can to silence people that are here to bring on the awakening to the fact that there are UFOs out there, that there are things going on that we need to know about, and they're going to do anything to silence it. For example, I did a show the other night that I titled very stupidly, "Your Government Hates You." Okay. When I edited the show and I went to reload it, it wouldn't reload. Nothing would happen to it. It's, in fact, the show stayed completely dormant for over a day and a half. And I thought, well, I guess that's never going to work. And then finally, just on some whim, it uploaded. And I don't know what happened. I've never had that before, ever. So I was wondering myself if some algorithm had picked that up, because I know for a fact the CIA is everywhere out there. And they're the dirty guys for the United States. They're the United States Mafia. And they're out there watching everything that goes on. And I have a feeling that they've infiltrated the Skywatchers, the UFO community. Some people I call them Skywatchers because I think that is. But do I believe that they would infiltrate it? Absolutely. I know that there were some suspicious men even seen at Contact in the desert that nobody knew. And
Yeah,
so there you go.
We've talked about that, and you know what? There really is.
Yes,
you know,
from Erik. Yeah, there were quite a few suspicious men, but there were suspicious men that Gigi and I had run into before, and then they tried to infiltrate our group this year as well, and I wasn't having that.
Yeah, no, Cortana. Yeah, she turns into Mama Bear as soon as something goes wrong. But Debi, you know, and this is something I've actually never said on the air before, but you know, there. Actually, you know what? Well, it is interesting. Okay, let's go here, because back in 2010, 2011. In this, you know, this predates the story that we were just both talking about. I used to work for a corporation, and we were developing artificial intelligence. I mean, we were at the top of the game. That was us. That was us. We had.
Was it Texas Instruments?
Was it what?
Was it Texas Instruments?
Oh no, they weren't even. We actually denied them access to our technology because they were Texas Instruments, and they're just one of a mini list of other corporations that we Our whole point was we figured out artificial intelligence, and we do not want to get this in the wrong hands. That was our whole point. And with that said, a few weeks later, and I've said this on the show before, but for you, Debi, I want you to be fully aware of this. We caught a police officer breaking in to our offices to steal blueprints and to steal documents about our artificial intelligence, specifically to sell it to another corporation that we had refused to sell it to beforehand. And the reason why we refused to sell it to them is because we knew it was going to get in the wrong hands. That was the whole point. And once you catch a police officer breaking into your office to steal these documents to sell to that corporation that you refuse to sell to, that's when you know something is going on. And let me just give you an example. I mean, this sounds pretty crazy. I understand that. I'm just telling you, this is what we were doing 5 or 6 years ago. You could tell just from watching TV, just from watching Netflix. Well, guess what's in Netflix? Your TV. Well, guess what's in your TV? There's a camera. Well, even if it didn't advertise there's a camera, well, guess what? There's one in it. You know, and basically what they've been doing is they've been tracking every human action, every human emotion, every human... Okay, let me... I'm just going to cut the whole thing and just break it down to you like this. When's the last time that you were talking to somebody about, let's just say, like, oh my God, I had this new bag of Doritos that taste like cheeseburgers, right? Like, wow. Like, there's potato chips that taste like cheeseburgers, right? And then you hang up with your friend, and then you pull up an internet browser on your phone, and the first thing you see is an advertisement for Doritos that taste like cheeseburgers. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not random. That's not coincidence. That is a very specific algorithm. To put it into proper perspective, let's say that you just went about your day. You did your daily thing. You didn't talk to anybody. You didn't do anything. But you want to go see a movie that night. You know what I'm saying? And you know what movie you want to see. And that movie just kind of, you know, the next time you pick up your phone, that movie, like they literally, not only do they know what you want to watch before that you know that you want to watch it. Like, the algorithms are so good. They're so good. They know what you want to eat before you want to eat. And it's not like a nobody's spying on you. Nobody's watching you. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's like, it's nothing like that. It's just that their algorithms are so good that they can predict that to a, like, I'm going to tell you honestly, like, to 97%. Like, they can nail it pretty good. And that's what we were doing. And that was our whole point. We did not want that technology to get into the wrong hands. But lo and behold, we find a police officer breaking into our office to steal the information to sell it to the very corporations that we refuse to sell it to. And that's... But
we were warned about this. We were all warned about this, that they were going to track us online.
Yes,
everything we looked at. I can go shop at Amazon.com for a workout leotard, and the next thing I know, I'll come on another site and they'll go, hey, have you seen these workout leotards from so-and-so.com? And I'm going, how the hell did they know that?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so yes, they are definitely tracking us through the internet. I don't know who's doing it, but somebody's doing it.
Well,
yeah,
it's
algorithms.
Back to
what I said earlier.
It's algorithms that are doing it. It's not people. It's algorithms that we
create. What you're saying, Gigi, is it's artificial intelligence using algorithms. It's not it's not human beings sitting behind a computer watching us. It's AI watching us.
Great point, Erik. It is artificial intelligence using these algorithms. But the point is, those were our algorithms. We refused to sell them to other corporations because we knew exactly what they would do with them, which, you know, I mean, it's no secret. We lost. We lost that battle, and they are using those algorithms for those exact reasons that we did not want. We lost that battle. We lost the battle. And now that artificial intelligence is in the wrong hands, and that was our whole point. And I'll tell you right now, the name of our corporation at the time was called Tau Creative. I already said it. It's Tau Creative. Look it up.
That goes to what I said earlier in the show, Gigi, is that, you know, they got so much going on. Everybody's focused on the next tweet and the Russian investigation and everything else, that they're cramming all this legislation through, and it's getting signed into law, which means Trump's signing it, but that's going to allow your internet provider now. They removed the privacy restriction where your internet provider at home, was not able to monitor and sell your data. And they passed a law. They are now allowed to do it. So that goes right back to, you got these AIs that are, like you said, Gigi, that are doing these algorithms and they weren't able to make good money off it yet because that law was in place for privacy for people in their homes. And guess what? And April and May, they're cramming all these laws through because no one's paying attention. Everyone's looking at the next crisis coming out of the White House and they think nothing's being done, but our privacy is being ripped away. And this is all by design. This is all by design.
Well,
and,
hold
I'm not
on.
a Trump person. I'm not a Clinton person.
I have to jump in right there. I have to jump right there because, yeah, I'm sorry, but no, I have to jump right there because Tau Creative was, we were anti everything that is happening right now. Like we did not, our whole mission. I mean, I was connected more spiritually to the people that ran this corporation than, well, I would equivalent it to being Cortana. You know what I mean? Like we're on the same page. You know what I mean? And but it wasn't. It wasn't about that. No matter what we did, we were going to be infiltrated. Like we were the ones that we had the technology in our hands, and we were very protective on who understood it, much less who had access to it. That was our whole point. Tau. Just look at the name, Tau Creative. I mean, it was a very spiritually based thing, but when you look at it in the long-term retrospective, it was just a matter of time before we got taken down by these other forces that, had way more resources than we do. To the point, like I said, they actually convinced a police officer to break into our office to steal our documents. Like, that's pretty crazy. Once it gets to that point, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. But that's what it got to, and to this day, Tau Creative doesn't exist anymore because we lost. We got cheated on. We got cheated. They cheated. And they stole our information. They stole our technology. And they gave it exactly to the wrong hands. That was our whole mission. To not give it to. And that's the whole point right there. And what they're doing with that...
So now...
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, what now I gotta say is, so... Why?
Why?
Like, why?
Why? Because they can predict before you even say a word. They already know where you're going to eat tomorrow night. They already know. They know you're going to Pizza Hut. They know it.
Why? Like, why do they want to know? I mean, I'm just like, I have my own answers in my own head, but as a topic for discussion right now, since we have another 10, 15 minutes or whatever, the why of it all. Why is this happening?
Well,
they're scared of a revolution. They are afraid of a takeover. They are afraid that there's more of us than there are of them, and they're afraid of a revolution, period. I don't care what anybody says. That's the facts.
Exactly.
And so when they monitor what we're doing, when they wag the dog and give us crappy stories to read and stuff that takes our mind off the other things that are important, they're winning. Stay hard, stay focused, do what you're doing, and don't stop.
Exactly.
I would rather die trying to get something across to the people that they needed to know than to live a long life as a sheep. I won't do it.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Hell yeah.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. And you know what? I'm still very closely connected to a lot of the major players in that situation. And two of the heads of that corporation are willing to come on this show. And we're very, as easy as that sounds, it's not that easy to get people like that on a show without... just think about how much trouble we had getting Richard Allen Miller on today. That's nothing. That is nothing compared to what we're going to face getting these people on. But we've been trying to figure it out. And it's the same thing. Even though I don't work for that corporation anymore, we're still in the same... this is not a business thing. This is a spiritual... team. We're on the same team. We do not want this technology and information to get to the wrong hands, and unfortunately that is exactly where it's got to. And honestly, we probably...
You know what I'm thinking?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now what I'm thinking, okay, so now that like we've discussed the how, the why, but now how do we stop this? You know what I mean? Because
Well,
like how do we stop this? How do we just tell them to knock it off?
Well,
and,
there are
still sovereignty,
Well, there are two different resolutions to this. One is just like a good parent would hope that their child would grow up to do the right thing. Us being the creators of this artificial intelligence that is now being disturbingly misused, just in the same sense, we would hope that the artificial intelligence that we created would do the right thing. But that's only one. If that's not the case, then holy Moses, God bless us, and good luck. But if that's not the case, we never, honestly, that's kind of where we messed up.
Well, if anyone,
we never figured out the other part of that, and I think that was our weakness. And maybe that's our fault, maybe, but maybe we were just trying to do the right thing. So that's honestly, I'm just going to leave it up to that.
We weren't paying attention.
Well,
we weren't paying attention. That's the whole thing.
Well,
I'm not talking about your company, sir. I'm just talking about.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. We thought we were paying attention, but it turns out there was way more attention being paid to our whole situation that we didn't even have resources to pay attention to.
Here's the scary part: the people that were once thought of that were spreading propaganda are people that are now thought of as spreading the truth, and that's what's got them nervous. They're very nervous. They know that there are people that are awakening out there to the belief that maybe it is right. Maybe we were right. Okay, that's weird. Every time I speak, something goes.
Yeah. Well.
You know what I'm saying? Seriously.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean.
Well,
yeah,
something's interject something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Debbie,
yeah.
I don't know if she wants to do it or not, but she sent me a video, and she also played some tonal sounds that she recorded in the backyard of her she has a lot of acres out there in Texas where Gigi lives, not in the same area, but anyway, do you want to play that, Debbie? Because that's fascinating. I don't know if you feel like doing that.
They're ready to hear it. There was a night, it was about 2:00 in the morning. I lived on the edge of 71 acres of land, and it's ancient Indian burial ground. It'll never be built on, ever, ever, ever. It's in the Dallas, Texas decrees. It'll never be built on. The only reason that they have it there was because the family said you can never build on this land. Okay. Well, what happened was one night in the year 2010, in December, on December the 10th of 2010, 12/10/10, I got off my podcast and I went out to the outside around the pool area, and Victor was out there, and I said, Victor, will you take me in the golf cart out to the opening? Because there's an opening out in the middle of it. He goes, why? And I said, I don't know. I just want to go out to the opening for some reason. Well, my golden retriever jumped on the back of the golf cart, and it's a very quiet golf cart. It's an electric golf cart. So we go out there, and I recorded. Victor ran back inside and got the ASCAM. It's an ASCAM recorder that we used, and this is what we recorded, and nobody's ever been able to prove what this is or what this isn't. I don't know what it is. All I know is we sent it to NASA down in Houston. We wrapped it up real pretty. We still have the disc that we sent. We sent it down there. About 6 weeks later, we heard back from them, and the letter, which I still have, says, we ask that you do not ever play this in public again. That's all it said.
What?
No, I'm not lying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
And this is what it was. Here we go. You want to hear it? It's 40 seconds long.
Right.
Yes.
All right. This is the original recording. That's it.
That is disturbing.
My question, okay, could you hear that noise before the recording, or is it only you could hear it on the recording?
We heard it on the recording.
Yeah, no.
But my dog heard. Yeah. My dog heard it. He was going crazy.
All right, so you couldn't hear it. You took the recorder out, recorded it, and when you played the recorder back, you could hear it. Is that correct?
That's what was on there. Mm-hmm. And
so you didn't hear it ahead of time.
No, not at all.
What he's asking you, Debbie, is were you hearing that with your ears at the same time while you were recording it? I think is what he wants to know.
Could feel it. I could feel it. I just felt the feeling that I had. I've never been able to duplicate. I've never been able to feel again. But it was some sort of bizarre pull on me. It was like somebody was pulling my lungs or something towards this area of the field, and nobody.
That's what I'm saying.
Were your hair follicles like on your arm? The back of your neck.
Yes, absolutely.
Up on edge?
My dog was beyond consolable. He was just crying and barking and freaking out, and there was nothing there. And I said, turn the recorder on. And what gets me on the recording is at the very end, it sounds like the signing off of a radio or something. Listen to the very last noise that's made. It sounds like the signing off of a radio.
Well, that's okay. Listen, Debbie.
Those are disturbing.
Have you?
They're pumping that out. Yeah. You know, they're pumping that out to. I mean, this is 2010 is around the time of when all the stories about those mystery booms and the trumpets of heaven stories started coming out, where people would just go outside and record sounds that sound a lot like what she recorded.
Well, I mean, yes.
And it sounds really disturbing.
Yes.
I mean, it is very unnerving.
But it's a little bit different because
you can't pitch it either. You cannot pitch it.
Well, like, and that's, you can't. Listen, Debbie, were you working for any? Who were you working for at the time?
I was doing a lot of stuff with podcasting and UFOs with a guy named Rich Giordano.
But were you working with? Okay, let me rephrase the question. Were you working with a corporation?
No, I was not. I was working. Well,
really?
I mean, I was working for a bail bonding company, and I was working for attorneys. No, not a corporation.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That's like a normal job
in itself. But yeah, that's not quite interesting. Well, that is interesting enough, but at the same time, that's not interesting enough. It's interesting that it's not interesting enough.
My father was working at Texas Instruments for 26 years, and he was in the military division. He had to badge his way in every day. We never even knew what he did. He never would talk about his job, never, ever once. And he went by a number. He never even went by a name. He went by 4038.
Well, and that explains a lot. That explains a lot because
that's what Erik said. Erik said you're probably whatever. What did you say, Erik, about my dad?
Tell him about the markings. Do you want to tell him about your markings also?
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now. Texas Instruments.
I think we need a show with her.
Oh no, we're definitely. I mean, if you're okay with it, Debbie, we definitely need to have you on.
Let's not get too deep into this. I want her to save. I want her to save some of this for another 2 hours.
Yeah, there's no way
this is great.
There's no way we're gonna get into all of this.
I told you, Erik, they weren't ready for this. I told you they weren't ready.
Well, I think they're gonna watch it for 2 hours. You tease them now. It's like you can't go and watch a movie in 2 minutes. You got to have the whole 2 hours.
Yeah.
I know. Just give us a preview.
Okay, well, Debbie, that little video you sent me on Twitter, was that your video that you sent me?
What video was that?
Remember
Erik?
last week you sent me a little video of that was that something that you recorded? That little brief little triangular looking purplish thing. Remember you tweeted me a little video?
Yes. Yep.
Did you take that? Did you video that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah. So you definitely want. If Debbie I would love to have her. I mean, if you guys will get her on the show and she wants to do it, I mean, you guys.
And I even went to my doctor one time because I have these 3-dot little things on my arms. I have one on my left and one on my right, and I said, "Where did these come from? They're not scars. It's just these. They're in a perfect triangle these dots on my arm. And I don't know, they've been there since 2010, the same year that stuff happened. But weren't they calling the year 2010 the year we make contact? Remember?
Yeah, from the movie, yeah.
Oh, that's what it was from a movie? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a sequel, but I mean, way to incept it into the population, right? Just make a movie. Oh, the year we made contact. Way to synchronize it. So it's already in the consciousness of the people. But yeah, 2010, the year we made contact, was a sequel to 2001: Space Odyssey, because I'm a sci-fi movie nerd. So, but I mean, that's kind of synchronous, or I don't think that's a coincidence at all. That 2010, is because there was, for a while, it seemed like there was a lot of there was like kind of there wasn't very many UFO sightings, and then they all just they kicked back up again, Hello?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm here. Was that a question for me? I'm so sorry.
Oh no, I was just answering when you mentioned 2010, the year we made contact. That was a movie, but it's like that seems like a pretty interesting way to incept that into the consciousness of the world consciousness. Make a movie, then all of a sudden these strange events start happening in 2010.
Well, let me just tell you, this was very interesting because I just started listening to Debi several months ago, and her show is like more of a call-in comedy, lots of sarcasm, tell lots of stories. It's a lot of fun. We never did we talk about UFOs really until a couple of times when I called in, but then last week, I think it was, I was talking to Debi, and I didn't know this, but she was doing shows on the whole UFO phenomenon in that era, in the 2000, 2010, 2011 era. And then for some reason, she decided to get out of that and move into a different type of genre. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Debi, because I never really asked you why you decided to get out of that genre and move into what you're doing now.
Because things got too weird for us around the house. It just got to where it was like...
Exactly.
It was like living in... in a movie. We had people, we had to go so far as to have a Catholic priest come over who stayed for 10 minutes and ran. We've had the entire recording of, the TV show that was called something paranormal, whatever. They came over. 2 of the videographers wouldn't come back the next day because of the strange things that were happening. Yeah. We had recordings taken inside our house from professional people that came in the attic and were recording stuff. There was so much activity going on in that house that it was almost as if something knew that we had become aware that they were there. And I'm without words to explain it. And it scared me to death, and I got out of it. I just said, I'm out of it, and I just quit talking about it on my show. But I've always dabbled in it. I've always stayed in it, very much aware of what was going on. And it scared us to death. It scared us so much we moved. And we found out a lot of some scary stuff. Yeah. Spooky stuff was going on. Yeah. Like one night, for some unknown reason, one of those hover jets that they have like in the movie True Lies, the hover jet that goes and just takes straight up. One just appeared about
the Osprey, I believe it's called.
20 yards behind my house, and I couldn't believe it until I ran out there. I was like, oh my God, there was a hover jet just right over about 20 yards away from my house in that field. Just a hover jet for no reason. Nobody knows why. And it was about 20 yards off the ground. I'm going, and I know you think I'm crazy.
God.
My husband,
I don't think you're crazy.
My husband will verify this because he's the one that came running in the house. Goes, Debi. I said, what is that noise? And we ran out behind the house, and I went, oh my God. And there was a hover jet, one of those kind that go up and down instead of just, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's called an Osprey.
I'll look at what it's called. It's called something. It was right behind our house, and I was like, oh my God.
Was there a person in that hover jet? Did you see a human being controlling it?
No.
Well, when I saw it, I was looking at the side of it. I'll never forget that as long as I live. That was the most bizarre thing that ever happened. And there was nothing in the papers. There was nothing ever said about it anywhere.
Okay, Gigi, I have to tell you this. And this, if John Polk was here right now, this is what he would say.
I'm sure he would.
That was that, and you're going to know what I'm going to say right now. She probably saw a UFO, and whatever that thing was, it cloaked itself, and it messed with her mind to make her believe that she was seeing a hover jet, so that she didn't think that she actually saw a UFO. It somehow did some sort of alien mind trick on her.
You know,
that's possible.
Nobody we did everything we could. We called, I even called the 911. I said, has anybody reported something strange over Sunnyvale, Texas, like a jet? She goes, no, ma'am, they haven't. I was like, okay. Well, we just eventually just went on our way and whatever.
I have to verify this, but if memory serves me right, and I could be wrong, a Harrier has a limited distance capability because of the amount of fuel that it uses. For the hover feature, it turns down the turbos to hover. That has a limited distance. So if it was a military craft, there would have been a base nearby or an aircraft carrier. No, but I think what Erik was saying, or Polk,
you don't see those things.
They might have pulled a Jedi mind trick on you. It's possible.
If you don't believe me, I'll get my husband in here, and I will not say a word. I won't say a word. I won't trip him up or anything, and I'll say, what did we witness that time outside of our house, behind the house? And I'll just let him tell you. See how he explains it. That's the only way we can explain it. It looked like a Harrier jet. It was just hovering there. And I was like, we were just both standing there in shock, and it was so loud. It was unbelievable. It was mind-bending. And we were like...
Well, now, let me ask you this. Had you been doing a radio show up to this point?
Oh, yeah. And I had some pretty good people on my show, too. It was pretty revealing, some things that were being said on my show, but I didn't think that had anything to do with it.
Well, I'm sure you didn't, but up to that point, how long had you been doing that radio show before that point?
About a year. About maybe a year. Yeah, okay. Give or take. Give or take.
Okay. Well,